Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Nerd Rage Gaming post-rotation testing. My name is Dan Hugar. I am here with Brian DeVeza, and Brian, we got some cool stuff for today.
Yeah, I'm really excited. I mean, it's that time of year again, rotation of the format, out with the old cards and with the new, and everyone's super excited to play with the new Journey Together set, so I'm really excited to be here.
I'm also just excited to get rid of these.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
think it's
I
just a
know.
beautiful thing.
I know. That's what I was telling Kevin, like our teammate Kevin, is because that's like around the time that we started playing 2022,
Yeah,
towards like the Vs. So now that all the Vs are out, I feel like as a player, I can kind of just like play something new. I don't have to be like tied down to a certain deck or anything like that. And I just have a lot more freedom on what I get to play.
absolutely. And
Yeah.
so, on that note, you're probably wondering, this isn't what we normally have. Correct. So
Yeah.
today's the pre-release for Nerd Rage. So instead of having you guys see who can get donked the most with Hop's
Hops cram.
Cramran, we're just going to actually show off some games of the new set coming out. So how's it going to work today? Brian, can you tell the people how it's going to work today?
Yeah, so it's gonna be King of the Hill. So we have four Nerd Rage teammates here today, and it just so happens that all four of them are gonna be playing in Atlanta.
Yes.
So it's gonna be good testing for them, and whoever wins stays on. Loser changes deck, and then we just keep cycling it in. Winner stays on.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So how we're going to have it go is, like Brian said, winner's going to stay on, and then they get first choice of deck for the next round. So then we try to avoid auto losses, but we did say once they get to 3 wins, just try to knock them off the hill
Yeah,
however you can.
definitely.
So Bryce, do you mind throwing up the image with our bajillion decks? So, like I said, we're well prepared for this today. Everyone's
Yes.
going to Atlanta, and we actually have 13 different decks for you. The picture out
Yes.
there.
Yes.
Yes. So we actually have 13 different decks for you. A lot of them built by Rafal, who you see there on the
Yes.
right. So we have Goldango Dundun, Dragapult Dusknoir, Lily's Clefairy, Flareon, Terrabox, Feraligatr, Arch Poison, Charizard Noctowl, Arch Dundun, Ends deck. We have Walls, we have Raging Bolt, and Slowking, and dude, we got a lot of good options.
Yeah, there's a lot of cool options going into the new format, and it's cool because a lot of these archetypes didn't really exist in our previous format. So it's cool that the new rotation kind of gives a lot of these decks a lot more time to shine and time in the spotlight.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and Justin, I'm glad you think so.
Yes.
Honestly, we're super hyped because it's good practice for us. So I'm not going to
Yes.
Atlanta. I'm
I'm not
going to
either.
Seville, though. So
Oh yeah,
I
definitely.
do need to know post rotation pretty well.
Yeah.
And for those who've been paying attention, I have a child I'm responsible for now. So
Yes.
that's a lot less testing time. So Bryce, do you mind yelling at them? We can go ahead and get started. Thank you very much. So, say it again. All right, perfect.
Okay.
So we are going to get ourselves started here. So it is going to be Ryan Prusak, who's just dominated, excellent player, especially control player, versus Kevin Daichi, who got his very first day 2 in Louisville this year. So he has been on a good roll. And it looks like the decks we are selecting are Raging Bolt versus
Arch Poison.
Arch Poison.
Yes.
So Bryce, do you mind throwing up one of those whenever you get a chance? I know I'm asking Bryce to do a bajillion things, but who do you think's favored to start off?
I want to say Raging Bolt. I feel like
Okay.
Raging Bolt is a really good deck going into the format just because it doesn't really lose too much. It's a very well-established deck. A lot of skeletons have really been formed with Raging Bolt already, so pretty much like a 50-ish card. Skeletons kind of been established, and doesn't really add too many of the new cards, but gets to really take advantage of that Noctowl line a lot because of the Ogrepons that are playing as well.
Absolutely. And Justin, yes, thank you very much for joining. These are all post-rotation, and it is really good practice. And selfishly, this is some of the best practice I'll get because not only do I get to watch good players play games, we'll get to talk to them afterwards. And Brian, you are a heck of a player yourself, so you get to tell me when I'm wrong and taking the wrong line.
And
which
you
is
could do
great.
the same with me too.
100%. But no, agreed. Raging Bolt is one of those decks that's a good carryover from the current format because you already have the engine there. You don't need to create something new.
Yes.
The deck's going to be much more quickly optimized for the new format, and the thing just goes boom boom, and that's not a
Yeah.
bad thing.
Definitely. I like to compare it to like what Miraidon has been for the last couple
Yes.
of formats because we saw how well it did at like EUIC, the Merida regional that Azul won.
Yeah.
And it's just been like a solid pick throughout pretty much the entire season. And I feel like Raging Bolt's going to kind of take the torch from Miraidon and kind of hold that going into this next part of the year.
Which makes sense because the end outcome of the deck is very similar. 2 prizes, 2 prizes, 2 prizes.
Yep.
Now, Miraidon can cheat a little bit with Iron Hands for
Yes.
Ampy very much. Raging Bolt does not have that, but the advantage is it's a lot easier for Raging Bolt to reach on Stage 1 and Stage 2 EXs.
Yeah, definitely. And I think a big part of that too is that there's a lot more decks that are reliant on big basics, kind of like the Terra
Yes.
Box. And Raging Bolt also is able to take advantage of those really high and tall decks like the Charizards, the Dragapults. Like historically, Raging Bolt's had a good Dragapult matchup as well.
Yes.
So being able to, hit big and hit tall as well is a really big reason why Raging Bolt is well positioned in this format.
I agree. And I do think it's going to be kind of a baseline deck where you
Yes.
have to be able to have a solid matchup into it. And Arch with Dun Dun, I think, is very good into Atlanta. Terrabox, I think, may be best deck in format. And Pult probably is best deck in format. But I'm a big Bridge fan. Brian, I
Yes.
know you're a pretty big Bridge
Yeah,
fan.
I do. I really do like the bridge a lot too. It does have a pretty wide matchup spread. It does have a good Terror Box matchup, which is really good. But it's kind of like what some of our teammates have said. It's like, I mean, with the rotation of Radiant Greninja, it's like you're playing with Radiant Greninja prized every single game.
Yes.
And that could be kind of hard to kind of play around. So there's definitely going to be some really questionable opening hands and stuff like that you'll have to deal with.
Agreed. And I think one thing to note with that too, one of our teammates, Mo,
Yes.
has referred to those who play this deck as someone who has a particular appetite for glue.
For glue,
So it's the
yes.
glue eating deck,
Yes.
apparently. Justin, will these be posted? Yes, we will definitely be posting these lists. And yes,
Yes.
all the players know the list beforehand since we put these all together. We will actually be showing you guys the list as we play through it.
Yes.
And if you have questions, want to see a list from the middle of a game, let us know. We can throw it up.
Yeah, and definitely another thing that we have here as well is a lot of the players are going to be kind of joining us as we play. So if you have questions for them about how they, played certain matchups, what they like about the deck, changes they'd make to the list, that's also something we can bring up to them as well.
Yes, definitely. And Arctic, I agree. Squawkabilly is definitely a must. And this is our Archduraludon Poison deck. So
Yes.
big issue with Archduraludon is 220 is a great number most of the time.
Yes.
But when it's not, it is a very big problem. So, Brian, we got a bunch of modifiers.
Yeah, so the Binding Mochi, the Perilous Jungle kind of help us climb to some of those bigger numbers that we're not really able to reach. The Secret Box is a really, really cool addition here just because
Yes.
it's able to grab the stadium, the booster capsule, the Mochi, grab supporter as well. So definitely a super cool way to play Archduraludon, and it's like probably something I'm going to try out as well. I really like the double version more, but I think this is a really cool way to play this deck.
I agree. I think it's really interesting, and it gives a little more depth that this deck usually doesn't have
Yes.
for glue eaters like me. So it'll be good to see that spiced up a bit. And Arctic, listen, I love the aggressiveness towards Arc Poison, saying it's fake. I hope you take the win. Obviously, we're rooting for you. And all right, and we are going to get our first game started here. We are kicking it off, as we said, with Arch Poison versus Raging Bolt, and Raging Bolt is going to start. So, Brian, does Raging Bolt want to go first now?
I do want to say yes, just because now that you are playing this 2/2 hoot line, Noctowl line, you want to be able to have the opportunity to get the Noctowls on as soon as possible, just so you can get your board more accelerated. And it also helps too because it gives you an extra turn to really set up your board instead of like the horrendous go second with the first attack, then you lose the game.
Yes, absolutely. And Bryce, I think our cameras are swapped with the players.
Oh no, just the decks are swapped.
No, because Ryan is playing pink. Okay, yes, no, that's fine. So keep going, Brian. What were you saying?
Yeah, it's just that you get the extra turn, so you can set up your board. You don't whiff your turn one attack, which is really nice. A big part of that.
I agree. And so we see Ryan here getting off double Ultra Ball, setting up big time, not worrying about that areas, or is that a jamming tower?
Jamming tower, yes.
Yeah, not worrying about the jamming tower. Just really getting ready to throw down the board. We got a Bolt, we've got a Ogerpon, we've got a Hoot Hoot in the active, and then we're about to squawk for 6 cards.
Yeah.
Dude, that's fantastic.
Definitely. Yeah, it's a really good start here for Kev.
So, real quick, Arctic, I actually think the Terra Box matchup for Pult is atrocious. but Pult may still be best deck in format. But Brian, please keep going.
Yeah, and actually, I want to go off of what you just said, and I think Pult is actually not a really great pick for this format.
Ah, why is that?
Just because there's no bench barrier. I think bench
Mm.
barrier is more important in this format than it was in the last format. Because in the last format, you were kind of able to get away with no mana fee, but with stuff like the Wellspring Mask Ogerpon kind of running around, I think that bench barrier is a very important tool to have.
I would agree. And
Yes.
there is a Shaman coming out in a set or so, but we got a little time before then. And so, Brian, let me actually ask about Pult later because we're going to definitely see it today. But going back to Kevin's turn here, or excuse me, Ryan's turn
Yes.
here. Ryan has Ogerpon, the first Teal Dance. We see a Sada in hand. I think we've seen Earthen Vessel in hand.
Yeah.
Ryan's going to set up here.
Yeah, definitely. And that's the really nice part about Raging Bolt is that even if you get hand disrupted, it doesn't feel like the worst thing in the world just because the Ogerpon is such a great draw tool and it lets you to, get more Pokemon and more cards in hand and it puts the energy on the board as well.
And so the new part about Bolt that is nice too is you do have that Noctowl engine. So Noctowl is an owl Pokemon, 100 HP, colorless Pokemon, has the ability that when you play it down from your hand to evolve a Hoot Hoot, you get to search your deck for 2 trainer cards if you have a Terra Pokemon in play.
Yes, that's
which
the big
is
part.
insane and so strong. And Brian, you
Yeah.
didn't play with Inteleon, did you?
Not really. It kind of.
Okay.
It was like after it was good.
Yes.
Yes.
And Inteleon was one of those cards that defined the format. In Worlds 2022, there was, I think, 40% of the format was playing Inteleon of some
Yeah.
kind, which is just wild. And Justin, is Rapska useful until Shaman? It can be, but I think it really, really depends on the deck because you do have to expend decent resources and like a TM Evo to use it. And Arctic, for Bolt playing Briar, I don't see a downside.
Yeah, I don't see a downside either. I just think it's a little bit more difficult for Bolt to play it compared to a deck that plays E-Switch, kind of like Terrabox or like last format's Regidrago.
Yes.
So it's a bit harder because you don't have ways to kind of move your energies. You just have to kind of depend on one attacker, which can be a little more difficult at times. So it's kind of hard to set up the Grass Ogerpon to get 3 energies on itself.
True.
Yeah.
And so we do see Kevin whiff that Pokegear trying to
Yeah.
set up, which is not ideal. And then, so Brian, we talked a little bit about Ryan's turn. What is Kevin trying to do on turn 1?
Yeah, Kev's really just trying to get a bunch of Duraludons in play. Obviously, if this was like, him going second, blind matchup, only Hoot Hoot in play, he'd be going for the donk, 100%.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah, trying to get that Petron in play, the tool on the Brood Bonnet, try to get the poison. But in this situation, it's a little bit more difficult to do that. So,
Dan,
yeah.
we would be even more handsome if you were here with us. But thank you
Yeah.
very much for joining today.
We hope to see you this Sunday at our 1K Cup.
100%. We will
Yes.
totally be advertising
Yes.
about that. By the way, actually, while we're on here, guys, there are exactly 4 master slots left for the Cup on Sunday. So if you're listening and you're coming and you haven't registered, y'all got to get on
Yeah,
that.
you should, because it's going to be a packed house, and
It
it's going to
is.
be a really great event. We have some exciting, events for it, and it's going to be a good time.
Oh, and do we have a top
Yes.
prize?
We have a top prize.
And we're talking beyond the hundreds and thousands of dollars.
Yes.
All right, so Kevin's turn was atrocious, and we are whiffing hard here. Now, going over to Ryan. Ryan has a chance to do something pretty big here.
Yeah, definitely. And a big reason about that is because when you have something like the Noctowl, you can just fish out a boss straight from your deck super easily.
100%. And
Yeah.
even not a boss,
Or a
because
Prime
we
Catcher.
will need the Sada. Yeah, Prime Catcher. Exactly.
Yep.
Dude, Arctic, congrats on winning the 1K last week, and good luck at the one coming up this weekend. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, definitely. So looking forward to have you in the building for our 1Ks. So definitely be a good time.
Unfortunately, Sammy's not a local, but we would love to
Yes.
have him here if we
Yes.
could. All right, so we see Ryan get the energy down for Teal Mask Ogerpon. We see the Fan Rotom isn't really useful anymore.
Yes.
But we are going to be able to get Noctowl out, and exactly like you were saying, Brian, just start to getting the engine going. And so do you think we want to try to boss here, or is it just Sada Prime?
Oh, yeah. I think you definitely want to be able to gust in this turn just because that's the only Duraludon that's on the board.
Yes.
And that just puts Kev like way more farther behind. So it's definitely a good way just to not just keep up tempo, but get ahead.
And we should also note, Thornton is no longer legal. So there
Yes.
is no way for Kevin to, in one turn, get out a Duraludon and evolve it. So This will put Ryan way ahead.
Yeah, definitely. That's another big thing to kind of talk about too, is that with this new format, we're losing a lot of cards that we've kind of been playing with the last few years. I mean, we're not going to have Thornton anymore. There's no more Barrel line, no more Giratina Dan.
No more
Yeah.
Giratina,
No
unfortunately.
more Lost Zone engines, stuff like that. So we kind of have to play the game a little bit differently now. No more Luminion. So a lot of things that we've kind of crutched onto the last couple of years, we're gonna have to kind of like change our play habits and all of that.
That absolutely makes sense.
Yes.
And it's gonna be a big difference. And Sammy, when you
Yeah.
do drive on up here, we would love to have you.
Yeah, definitely.
So going to Kevin's turn, we see a Carmine.
Carmine.
So we are playing the game
Potentially.
potentially.
Okay, there's an Ultra Ball.
There's an Ultra Ball, another Carmine.
Yep, we can
Because
get a
why not?
Duraludon here. Oh,
Another
another one.
Carmine. Okie dokie.
Okay.
Well, so that's not ideal, but we can at least get a Fezandipity to start playing the game.
Yep.
Unless, do you think Kevin just goes straight for a Duraludon, or do we got to get Fez down
I feel
here?
like you need to get Fez down. I think it's just like if you leave yourself with just Duraludon on the board and one card in hand, you're kind of setting yourself up for failure.
I would agree. So
Yeah.
I believe this deck does play Mew EX. So
Yeah.
is this a turn where you're Mew EX first to then draw into and out 2 Fez? Because if the Palpad in hand, you're going to draw 3 anyway, right?
Yeah, that's true. It's definitely something to think about. I kind of like the Mew EX a little bit more now that you bring it up, just because you have the free retreat from it. It's a good pivot.
Kevin, you cannot use Squawkabilly EX's ability this turn, unfortunately.
Yeah, and I do like that just because I feel like there's not if it gets knocked out, you don't really get punished as much.
I would agree. And
Yeah.
so I think this Fez going down is also fine
Yeah,
if Kevin's saying, I don't want to play this Palpad because I need to
Yes.
hit other stuff.
definitely.
But, I mean, Kevin's in a rough spot.
Yeah, it's definitely a little tough right now for him.
So what do you think he needs to do to get out of the spot and be able to kind of get back into the game?
I think it just depends on what he really draws here. I mean, if he's able to draw enough, like at least like a couple of nest balls or get like some Duraludons, it'll definitely be a good start for him.
And I think that's what he really needs
Yeah.
is just 2 Duraludon.
Yep.
Well,
Oh boy.
oh
Okay.
no.
All right.
There is a Latias, and there is a Squawk, and there are no Duraludons.
No Duraludons there.
All right, so then, Brian, like, is the game just over for Kevin?
It's close to be. I feel like if
I feel like if we're Palpatting in 2
Yeah.
Carmine, things are not great.
yeah, I think if Ryan's able to kind of just find a way to go down to 3, I feel like it's kind of over at that point because there's no way to kind of get the tempo back in your favor.
Well, we should note that Ryan already has boss's orders in hand.
Yes.
So that Fezandipity is going down.
Yes, definitely.
Oh, and Rigid Band Arctic in Arch does seem really good because it
Yeah.
does prevent the one shot from Pika. Dang,
Definitely.
that's pretty good.
Yeah, I would say so too. Yeah.
All right. And we will see this poison damage come down 30 damage because of the Perilous Jungle.
Perilous jungle. It's like what Kev was saying earlier. It's like you're having 4 extra Sneaslers in the deck.
That's pretty good. All right, so we see Ultra Ball, Grass Energy, Boss's Orders in hand. Ryan just starting to draw and just move through the game. So, Brian, is there anything tricky, or do we just see Boss Fezandipity?
I think that's probably what you end up doing. I think Ryan's just trying to put more energy on the board just so he can kind of get ahead for the next turn, and just trying to thin out some more Pokemon as well.
Which I don't
Yeah.
mind that. The only downside, and it's a little bit different now with Bolt,
Yeah.
that Ultra Ball previously with Bolt, like, it didn't really do much for you once your board was set
Yeah.
up. Now, an Ultra Ball is an out to 2 trainer cards in playing the game.
Yes, it definitely is.
So it kind of changes when people talk about, like, thinning is winning. Thinning is winning in general, unless you are thinning by removing outs to what you need to do to win the game,
Yep, definitely.
which is the risk here. But I mean, kind of like you said, Brian, Ryan's so far ahead, doesn't
Yeah, You
matter.
can kind of just do whatever at this point.
Jolly, I don't think it's a meme. I think Arc Poison could actually be okay, but it's really going to depend how things shift over the next
Yeah.
couple weeks.
I also think it's a real deck. I feel like out of the arch archetypes, I want to say like the Dunsparce one is probably the most real. I think the poison one is probably number 2, and unfortunately, I think the Dubwool one is probably the last one just for now, just because I feel like it can just be like a real brick sometimes.
That's unfortunate because I
Yeah.
think the double is so good. And Brian, what does
is.
the double do again?
It's as soon as you evolve from hand to the Dubwool, from the Wooloo, it gives you a Gust. And it makes me so happy because one of my favorite decks of all time is Arceus Dumbreon.
Well, there you go.
And it's
Yes.
just like playing Dumbreon all over again.
To
But
be clear,
yeah,
Umbreon was Umbreon
VMAX
VMAX,
and
which had the
Duraludon
same
VMAX.
ability.
Yeah,
Yes.
it was the same ability, except they were all 3 prizers. But
Now they're not.
now they're
they're
not.
one
Now they're 1
prizers.
prizers. And it's like the Arceus or it's like the Archaludon is like Arceus and Duraludon at the same time. So it's like, how could you not like it? But yeah, it's definitely it can be a bit of a brick sometimes.
That is wild.
Yeah.
And Ryan using 2 energy there to knock out that Brute Bonnet. Goes down to 2 prizes remaining.
Yep.
Kevin's hand is trash.
Yes.
And so I think we're just gonna play every card down, see what we can do, and then just kind of retreat into the Pecharunt, pass it on over. And yes, Arctic, that is one reason why I love the Dun Dun engine is because you do shuffle in the Pokemon into decks. So not only do you get to control your board, but you also get to cycle through your draw engine. And
Yes.
Jolly, Vengeful Punch in Arch is actually really good, I think. And Brian, we've talked about that a bit.
Yeah, definitely. It's definitely been like one of the big discussions like amongst the team, and honestly, a lot of people like in the community have kind of been talking about it because it's been showing up in Japan like little by little, and kind of helps our Chaladon with some of the more odd matchups that it kind of struggles with, kind of like Goldango, Raging Bolt, stuff like that. And yeah, I think the Vengeful Punch, it's okay. It's kind of hard to you can't really draw into it.
That
Yeah.
is absolutely the issue.
Yeah.
Justin, the Arch decks we have today are Dun Dun and the Poison one. So we
Yes.
will likely see Dun Dun a little bit later. And yes, Jolly, the only deck playing Jamming Tower right now is Arch Duraludon. And so, Brian, I agree. The tricky part is whenever you have those 2 or 3 card techs that you can't search out, there's a whole lot more variance in trying to get it out.
Yeah, definitely. It's kind of like what people are talking about with Goldango playing the Serrano, which is that one supporter that lets you search up to 3 EXs, which is cool because like if you play it in Goldango, you can search
Oh.
up 2 Dengos and a Pheasantipity or
Yeah.
something like that. But it's like, how are you searching for it? There's no Luminion, there's
Right.
nothing like that. So you're kind of just raw drawing into it. And if it's like a one of tech, it's like something you can't really rely on playing.
Well, so the other tricky part of that too is if you see that card turn 1, is it good?
Yeah.
And that is what a lot of decks will run into, especially early in the format, is if your turn 1 hand is bad, you could just lose the game.
Yeah.
So is it
definitely.
worthwhile to see a Serrano turn 1 in Goldango, to see 2 Punch in Arch in your turn 1 hand? Because that's not great.
Yeah.
All right, we do see Ryan go into a clean Raging Bolt to knock out this wee baby Pecharunt. And Brian, that's not great.
Yes. And Ryan's just down to 1 prize. And Kev has not seen a Duraludon since I think his 2nd turn.
Correct. And that is technically a Duraludon.
Yes.
Oh, but now actually we can go for the Mew EX.
Yep.
And
Oh.
this is definitely going to fall under the we're going to go for the Budu,
He's gonna
actually.
go for the Budu.
Desperate times, man.
Yeah. I respect.
Desperate times.
I respect that Kev's really playing to his outs here.
Now, to be fair, this is a very legitimate out for a lot of decks. Like, you beat Goldango with Budu relatively often if they run out of energy.
Yeah, definitely. There's definitely been a few times where, I was going into EOIC. I ended up playing the same 60 as Josh Frink.
Pretty good player.
Yeah, very good player. And he was kind of like telling us, when you're going into that Dragapult matchup, it's like as soon as you get that TM Evo, force up the Budu and try to keep using that Budu until you get your full setup, and then you can kind of play the game from there. So it's definitely a really great, not really win condition, but it's like a setup condition.
Well,
Yeah.
and so we saw in top 4 of the EUIC, God,
Yes.
EUIC, we actually saw Natalie Miller win against Arch Duraludon, not by using Budu per se, but by trapping an Arch Duraludon in the active
Yep.
because her opponent had run out of ways to get out of the active. And kind of like we said, you go against Goldango, they've got 2 metal energy down, they just reached on your big ol' Arch, all the energy in the discard. Oh no, Countercatcher, Itchy Pollen, their Goldango for 0 energy. Do you want to go first or second?
Yeah, it's a real win condition, and it's crazy because this little 30 HP little green bean is kind of taking over our game here, and it's definitely something different that we kind of needed.
It is, and honestly, it has completely changed the format, which is wild to me.
Yeah.
Oh, we do see a research. Okay, now we are Poke Gaming.
Yes.
We still don't actually have.
We don't have a Duraludon still.
We do not, nor do we actually have the Budu. So things are still not great for Kevin.
Yeah.
So is there a line for Kevin to win this game?
I don't remember if he plays counter catcher, but it doesn't really matter because the Latias kind of retreats for free.
Correct. So
Yeah.
it really just comes down to, I think, how much energy Ryan still has available. Because if he has, well, that's a lie. If he has a Sada, he wins. If he has a lightning energy, which he quite possibly has in hand, he wins. I think he wins.
I think he just wins no matter what here.
Yes. So
Yeah.
while we're watching Kevin play out his turn here, is there anything you saw Kevin should have done differently?
It's tough to say just because I don't really remember the first opening hand that he had.
He whiffed
Yeah.
Pokegear.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to tell just because sometimes it's one of those things where you just get a tough opening hand, and I guess like the best thing you can do is kind of just like scoop it up and go next.
And honestly, sometimes that is it. And especially in a best of 3.
Yeah, when you want to
Scooping up-
save the time.
Yes.
Yeah.
Being willing to scoop at the right time is a huge part of the skill set for best of 3. All right. So they are going to get set up for the next game. Ryan goes to 1-0,
Yes.
gets to hold the hill.
He is the king right now.
And if you can't see in the background, that is Eli and Rafal playing rock, paper, scissors to see who's going to go up next. And then,
Yes.
Bryce, can you throw up the deck screen? All right. So this is our selection of decks here. Kevin, you did
Yes,
indeed
he
lose,
did
but
lose.
thank you for being here with
Yes.
us. All right. So now Ryan, as King of the Hill, will get to make his first pick. And then, I think, is it Eli or Roth playing next?
Rob's
Perfect. And then Rafal will get second choice at what deck he wants to play. So we'll give them a second to talk about. And then, Bryce, this is a good time for poll, right? So we are going to let them pick this round, but we are actually going to give y'all a poll. We would love to hear what you want to see. And we've got our whole list of decks here. And we just want to see, what decks do you want to see? And Brian, what are you looking forward to see?
Honestly, one that I've really been looking forward to is the End Zoroark. I feel like a lot of people have kind of been not really talking too highly of the deck, which they have reason to. I don't feel like it has enough pieces, but I feel like it's definitely a little overlooked, and it's definitely a deck that can really surprise people if piloted by the right person.
So I played just a handful of games with Enzorark,
Yes.
and it was trash.
Yes.
It was not great.
Yeah, I feel like it just needs the right build.
Yes, and I would
Yes.
agree with that. That is definitely one of the decks where early on is not going to be great.
Yes.
Moshi, awesome to have you here. Mike, we certainly have Melodic Giraffe up there, and we will see
Yeah.
that one. And Jolly, Zatu can suck sometimes. It's very limited draw, but it could be a real thing eventually.
Yeah, definitely. Is there anything you want to see, Dan?
That's a great question, Brian.
Yeah.
To be honest, I kind of want to see Slowking. I think
Yeah,
Slowking is
Slowking's
so
fun.
cool. And I'm gonna be blunt with y'all. I don't know if I really want to like see it on stream because it's a stream for fun. But I actually think Walls is a very, very real deck
Yes.
for the format because the Walls attack. And if
Yes.
you were just throwing up something and hoping your opponent couldn't get through it, that probably is less good with the amount of variety. But if you have walls that can apply consistent and strong pressure throughout the game, things are going to get real interesting.
Yeah, definitely. And it's one of those decks that people are like, oh, it's going to get phased out of the format eventually. But honestly, like I feel like the walls with like proper tech can kind of last a couple of formats.
Well, and that is, so have you ever heard of the Decidueye curve, Brian?
No. Is that like a Sun and Moon era?
It is. So I'll
Yeah.
get to it in a second.
Yeah.
Justin, so there is the true Terra box on the right with Pikachu, Water Pond, and then
And the Grass Pond.
Teal Mask, Ogre Pond. The Lily's Clefairy is actually a pure Lily's Clefairy aggro deck. So Lily's Clefairy for a Psychic and a Colorless does 20 damage plus 20 damage for each bench Pokemon total. So basically, you just turbo out your board and apply a ton of pressure really quick.
Yeah, and the big thing with that too is that the Lily's Pearl acts as like kind of like a legacy energy in a way
Yes,
for the Clefairy, so it makes it worth a one prizer,
which is
crazy.
insane.
Yeah.
We do not have Quad Budu, Kevin, and in fact, you know that.
Yes.
So we will get this pull up in just a moment here, but until then, Bryce, do you mind throwing up that Walls deck? Because I would love to talk through that a little
Yeah,
bit.
definitely.
So, kind of like you mentioned, walls, like you said, Brian, I think it does definitely have a place in the format, and it can be adapted really, really well.
Yeah, definitely. And I think this is an interesting one because look at that A spec. Pokey Vital A.
So, Brian, what do you think about that A-Spec choice?
I think it's perfect for the deck. It's just interesting because I never thought that this A spec would actually be used in a deck.
I would tend to agree. And this
Yeah.
thing was mocked horrendously when it first came
Yeah,
out,
I
but
remember that.
it actually makes a lot of sense because
Yeah.
you can okay, Kevin. You can undo what your opponents have spent a ton of resources on. So
Yes.
it's at times even better than plus 100 HP cape or something like that because a lot of times your walls aren't getting one shot.
Yeah.
But instead, if your opponent uses their Monkey Dory a bunch, if they're trying to load resources on, say, the Dunsparce EX to try to hit
Mhm.
through stuff, if you undo one or two of their attacks, you suddenly have completely changed their game plan, which is a huge, huge deal.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, there's so many like instances where the walls just auto wins. Like, I'm still playing on the ladder, even though the format hasn't rotated yet on Pokemon TCG Live. But a lot of people are playing, new format kind of decks already. And as soon as I see like a Feebas or a Milotic playing Dragapult, I kind of just like scoop it up because there's no way you can kind of win that matchup.
So
Yeah,
and we're going to talk about this.
yeah.
Are we ready? What's up? One more time? Oh,
Oh,
all
okay,
right,
yeah.
sweet. So let's get us to our game. We are starting off, and we will get Ends deck out there for the next round, whoever
Whoever
decides to
voted,
play.
yes.
And so here we have Flareon EX versus Terrabox. And Brian, you want to talk about Terrabox or Flareon?
I'll talk about Terrabox because that's
Beautiful,
the one that I've
beautiful.
kind of been playing. So Terrabox is a really interesting kind of toolbox deck that takes advantage of a lot of the terrestrial Pokemon, mainly the Wellspring Ogerpon, the Teal Mask Ogerpon, and Pikachu EX as like the really big ones as like their attackers. And it's just great because there's so many different ways that this deck can kind of power up and hit for big numbers really quickly, as well as it takes advantage of that Hoot Hoot Noctowl engine that lets you search out the two trainer cards when played from hand.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And so it is really big because, kind of like you said, there's so much flexibility too in
Yeah.
what you can use. So being able to even just pass with the Waterveil Ogerpon in active is fine.
Yeah, definitely. And it's crazy to think that like just the presence of a Terra Pokemon opens up so much outlets for this deck just because I mean you can place down the area 0 and you can just like have this super wide board from the beginning of the game.
Agreed. And so Flareon may indeed be cooked. However, I should note Flareon can technically hit 280 turn one.
Yes.
Now, what's the
Technically.
likelihood of that?
Yeah.
It's up for debate.
Yeah.
But so Flareon is a very, very interesting Pokemon. So it is obviously Flareon, Stage 1 EX terrestrial Pokemon, evolves from Eevee or Eevee EX because
Yes.
of EVX's ability. And so I think it has 280 HP and does one attack for 130 damage, fire colorless, accelerate 2 energy from discard or deck?
From deck.
From deck
Yeah.
to your bench Pokemon.
Yes.
And a second attack for water, lightning, fire does 280.
Yes.
So here's the cool thing. If Ryan can get a Crispin and an Eevee down, we could actually see a knockout on this Water Veil. And
Yeah, definitely.
I don't know if we're going to see
Crazy.
that, but it is an option.
Yeah, and I know that Ryan's a really good player, so I mean if he sees that there's a line for it available, he's going to sequence it perfectly fine to where he's going to be able to take that knockout.
Yes, absolutely. And I think right now what Ryan is seeing is that there's not a whole lot of ways Rafal could easily knock out this Mew EX. So we're going to see what Ryan has in hand. We see a boss, we see a Ogerpon, and actually, I think this
Ooh.
Sob play is brilliant.
Yes. And I think Sob is really something that really needs to be respected going into this format as well.
I would agree. And so, why do you think this play is so good, Brian?
Just because the Terrabox really makes it takes advantage of Latias EX really well by making all these basics free retreat. The only thing that isn't a basic that's being played in this deck is the Noctowl, but the Sob takes away your ability to retreat. So I mean, this fan rotom is stuck in the active unless a supporter like Turo is being played.
And that's exactly it.
Yep.
So there are a lot of decks right now, and this is another reason why there could be some interesting inclusions in wall
Yeah.
variants, because they aren't playing active switching cards. They're not playing Switch. There's no Guzma.
Yeah.
Very few decks are playing Turo.
Yeah. Switch cart just rotated.
Switch card rotated.
Yep.
So even Jet Energy doesn't see a ton of play.
Yeah.
So decks like this rely on Latias EX for their mobility, but like you said, it's retreating. So if you
Yeah.
prevent them from retreating, that dude is stuck.
Yeah, definitely.
So then what is Rafal trying to do here to answer this?
I think he's just looking just maybe get some damage onto this on this Wellspring Ogrepon, or
Yeah.
just trying to set up the rest of his board for the next turn.
Wellspring. I keep forgetting the freaking name of it.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, so I think either that or I think Nest Ball is just like super useful because I feel like it's just one of those things that you can just always grab off of the Jewel Seeker, and it never feels like a really wrong play to do just because you're able to put down another Pokemon because of the Area Zero being in play. You can just put so many down on in the board.
Absolutely. And that Area Zero Underdepths is such a good card. And so for those watching at home, Area Zero Underdepths says if you have a Terra Pokemon in play, you can have up to 8 Pokemon on your bench. And so that's
Yes.
huge because not only does it give you more opportunities, more flexibility, it also supports cards like that Clefairy that Rafal just put down that we were just talking about.
Yeah, the Clefairy with the Fairy Zone abilities is super cool because now Dragon Pokemon finally have a weakness.
Yes.
And it also is very reminiscent of, like the legendary dogs trio that we have with the Rondo attack that does 20 more for each Pokemon on the bench, which is a really interesting attack as well.
It is. And
Yeah,
yes, it was
very
Lightning
flexible.
Rondo, Flame Rondo, and Blizzard Rondo, I
Yeah,
believe.
something like that. Yeah.
All right, so we do see a Mew EX coming down. This Clefairy is loaded up and ready to go. What we could see here is a Turo from Rafal
Yeah,
on
he's
this
looking
guy.
at it. Yeah, he's definitely looking at it.
And I mean, honestly, Ryan's probably fine with that. If Rafal is spending Turo right now, then Ryan has an opportunity to do something real cool and just set up a whole board and then try to trap again.
Yeah.
Because I don't think, based on their combined boards, this what is it again? Watervale?
The Wellspring.
Wellspring. I don't know if the math adds up to this Wellspring getting knocked out.
It might. Let's see here. It'll be easier when we see everything kind of get placed down here.
Cat saying just got started over the summer, played a bunch of different decks.
Yeah.
To level up, do better, I think it depends. So honestly, we could have a whole Cat, if you don't mind, we're gonna come back to that in between games because I think that is a whole discussion and definitely something we want to cover and not shortchange you on here.
Yes, and I think Raph only needs one more Pokemon on the bench in order to be able to hit that.
That is true
Wellspring
because right
for-
now we're hitting 200.
Yes.
All
And
right.
I think he has. He put the Mew EX down, and I think there's another Pokemon he could possibly get.
Oh no!
Wait a second here.
No, it's 200. Bryce, could you mind terribly? So one of the nice parts of us playing for fun here is that wasn't allowed.
Did he have enough?
No, he was only doing 200 damage.
I think they're recognizing that now.
Yep. But there was a fan rotom in hand. So this is also why we catch this, because that way we can fix the board state and get good quality testing here.
Yes.
And Dan, honestly, coming to Nerd Rage Gaming is a great way to get better because, Brian, I don't know if you've noticed, but we got a whole lot of good players here.
Yeah, we definitely have, and a lot of people get here early too.
Yes.
And that's how we get our testing because we're always talking every week.
Correct.
So
yes.
in order for us to practice, that's why we get here early too. So it's definitely a good way to improve and stuff like that because you're constantly playing against great players every single week as soon as you come to locals here. So definitely a good way to improve.
So I have questions on, and let me be clear also for those Dan saying lose to me. People don't lose to me all that often, so I wouldn't stress about it. And Moshi, yes, we do have some great series. Toshun, I'm not saying that correctly, I apologize. But yes, dude, there are so many good players around here. And Kat, totally understand. We're just very grateful to have you on stream anyway.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, so going back to the game, here's one thing I would like to see, Ryan. I don't know about you, is Oh, we don't have a Terra Pokemon in play.
Yeah.
So Noctowl isn't turned on. Dude, that is huge
Yeah,
for a
that is
fall.
huge. Yeah. So, kind of overextending for that initial knockout seems to be working out pretty well for Raph here.
Well, and that's exactly it,
Yeah.
because we did use both Knockdown. We have an Ultra Ball in hand, so there were outs, but yeah, the resources paid off there.
Yeah, definitely.
And I think that's one thing that's really important to keep in mind in these kind of scenarios is Ryan showed a very weak board.
Yes.
And so there's two kind of routes you could take. One, you could say, okay, your board is weak. I'm going to use this to set up. Or you could say, your board is weak. Can I get a better advantage by extending to eliminate and apply more pressure to you?
Yeah,
And clearly the second option worked out for Rafal.
definitely.
And so, Brian, then what is Rafal trying to do this turn as a follow-up?
He's just trying to get the double knockout here. So he searched out the Crispin to put those 2 energies onto the Wellspring Ogerpon. The second trainer he searched for was the Sparkling Crystal, allowing him to be able to use the Torrential Pump for just those 2 energy. And, retreating out with the rescue board, putting down another Pokemon. Oh man, look at Roth just sequencing out
Dude,
this turn. This
this
is really
is
thick.
oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Ryan is just getting cooked here.
Yeah,
And we do see the double knockout. Rafal goes down to 2 prizes
2
remaining.
prizes.
We have a loaded Clefairy. We have absolutely nothing
Yeah.
of value for Ryan.
And Roth is the king now.
Roth indeed is king. Ryan goes to 1-1. Rafal goes to 1-0. And we are going to see N's deck, which includes N's PP up. So
Yes.
I am very excited to
The
see this next
caster's worst
matchup.
nightmare.
Oh god, no, it's incredible. It
Yes.
is quality content. And yes, Moshi, this is one thing I will mention too. And Kat, gosh, this is such a good tie-in, Brian.
I know, right?
You guys are helping the transitions here.
This is great.
Bryce, you can throw it on us if you want for a minute. So one of, I think, the most important things you can do, and this is also why I'm glad and grateful y'all are watching this, is you can look and review and carefully assess where you've gone wrong in your game. So like
Yes.
Moshi said, I have a lot of feedback for Junior at all times and Senior at all times
Yes.
when we play, just because a lot of times there are misplays. There's different lines they could have taken. There's
Yep.
different resources you could use. And those matter a lot, whether you win or lose the game.
Yeah, definitely. It's like one way that you play a certain turn can kind of change the way that the game outcome is. It's kind of like when we were playing earlier. There was an outcome where I had like 5 different cards in hand. I didn't really know how to sequence it out, but Dan kind of like walked me through. He's like, "Hey, maybe use this Ultra Ball, take out these cards, play this one, try to thin out as much, and then draw out of it."
And then you drew boss for game.
Yeah, drew boss for game.
So it
And-
worked.
yeah, so it definitely worked, and it was a line that I didn't see, but Dan was able to see it. So it's one of those things where extra eyes can kind of help you improve in that way.
Absolutely. And then for those who are in the chat, yes, Jolly, I think Judge is remarkably good in this next format.
Yes.
And Moshi, I will gladly give feedback still, like I said. And so, Brian, to your point also, that's good testing.
Yes.
So good testing is not playing closed hand, trying to win as many games as you can. Good testing is working with the person you're playing with to identify the best lines, correct lines, incorrect lines, and figure out what the optimal result from a certain game should be. Because to be honest, I don't care if I win or lose when we're testing. I care if we actually learned, does this deck have a good matchup? Am I picking the right lines? And anything else from there.
Yeah, definitely. And not to knock, there is still kind of some merit to playing those close-handed games. Just
For sure.
because when you're first starting to play a deck, you kind of just need to play those games just so you can get the reps in. You can get kind of comfortable with certain lines, like starts that you like, this and that. But as you become more comfortable with a deck, especially if you're testing for like a major event, it's definitely one of those things where you want to be able to do like kind of that open-handed testing and like realize what are like the outs, like what am I supposed to be doing by this turn. A lot of end game boards are really important too. Kind of like knowing how to close out a game is really important as well.
So, Boxy, I am not allowed to read your comment out loud.
Yes.
Jolly, I actually don't know if I agree. And so this is something else I'm going to come to. So I'm going to start somewhere else and get back to there.
Yeah.
Celio's network. Great guy, Luke Morsa, great
Yeah,
coach.
great
If you guys need
resource.
support, his channel, everything is great. So,
Yeah.
Luke, if you're watching, they should check you out. You're
Yeah,
awesome.
and it's just great for not just like experienced players, but new players as well. Very new player friendly, which
Yes.
is what I like about his channel a lot.
So he has had a comment in the back, in the past, geez, that was, there's a difference between practicing and testing.
Yes.
Practicing is what you're talking about of kind of figuring out a deck. Testing is figuring out what the matchup is, what text works, stuff like that.
Yes.
Bryce, are we ready to go? Perfect. Then we're going to pause and get into the game, and we're going to come back to this topic, though. This is such a good topic
Yeah,
in
it's a
prep.
really good, really good topic.
All right, and so we do see En's deck versus Clefairy Ogerpon. So we're Fall getting to play En Zoroark into Eli playing Lily's Clefairy, and we see a horrible squawk of Prime Catcher, E-Switch, Iono. Those are good cards, man.
Yeah, those are really good cards. I think this deck is super interesting, though. I've seen it kind of float around Twitter a little bit, and it's pretty much just like easy attacker to set up, and becomes one prizer with the Pearl.
Which is sick.
Yeah.
Just absolutely insane. And so Rafal getting a little happy to see that Arvin off the top deck, because for this deck, and I guess, Brian, do you want to talk about Clefairy or Ends?
I mean, I could talk about the Clefairy a little bit, just
Perfect.
because I feel like I've seen a little bit more of it, and then you've been playing the
Perfect.
end deck.
I've played 4 to 5 games
Four
of this
games,
deck. So
yeah.
for N Zoroark, basically what the gist is, you have Zoroark, which allows you to trade, discard a card from your hand, draw 2 cards, and it has an attack that allows you to copy the attacks of any N's Pokemon on your bench, which I don't know if anyone remembers Mew VMAX.
Yeah.
Pretty strong attack. So for this deck, you have a couple main attacks. You have an Ends Reshiram that has basically an Outrage. So 20 damage times the number of damage counters on you, and then just basic flat 170. You have a Darmanitan that does 30 damage times the number of energy cards in your opponent's discard pile. And then Darmanicanon, such a good attack name,
Yeah.
that says discard all energy attached, do 90 to the active, 90 to a bench Pokemon. And I mean, those are pretty strong attacks.
Yeah, they're really strong attacks, and I mean, it's not really the power level that a lot of people are kind of expecting for trade Zoroark when it came back, but I still think it's like a deck that's got some legs, and I really think it's a deck that could really show like out at an event with the proper build, and that's what we were kind of talking about earlier.
Yes, and
Yeah.
I think that's the essential part, is of finding a right build.
Yeah, right build and right A spec, because we were kind of talking about the A spec
Yeah.
earlier. Like this build right now is using Unfair Stamp, but I was saying that I really like Hyper Aroma a lot.
So, is it Flame Body Cannon? Oh, that's extremely disappointing.
Yeah.
Anyway, going to this game. So Lily is ready to attack. Lily's Clefairy is ready to attack. Lily maybe too.
Yes.
Eli does have the Iono, hoping to set up his board a little bit, and we do see a Teal Mask Ogerpon, and
Another Iono.
that's it. On the bright side,
Yeah.
we only need to do 80 damage to knock out this Zora.
Yeah, definitely, and it's definitely there.
Yes, we do have that, which is
Yes.
great. All right, so going over to Rafal's turn, I'm also not allowed to read that comment, Dexter. So we do see a Nest Ball. We have Ultra Ball. We've got a ton of stuff in hand to play the game.
Yeah, and I think this is one of those decks that really thrives from playing from behind, just because it plays like Reversal Energy, it plays the Defiance band, and a bunch of those comeback items. So it's definitely one of those decks that I think can really play from behind.
And I should note and agree with you, Jolly Zork is weak to grass. And let me tell you, that is a problem
That is a
into
problem.
things that play Teal Mask Ogerpon.
Yes, definitely.
All right, so then from Rafal's hand, we are getting Dark Energy out. We Nest Balled for Pheasantipity. And so this is a turn, Brian, where you mentioned that Unfair Stamp is in this deck. This is when that card is so strong before Eli has a board set up.
Yep, definitely.
All right, so we see the
See the
Pheasantipity
Fez.
draw. Okay, so we have
Okay,
a Zoroark.
Yeah, there's a Zoroark here.
We are Poke Gaming. And so for those who are thinking, yes, thank you, Dexter. So for those thinking, how does this Zoroark get into the active now? There's 2 cards. There's
Yes.
Ends Castle.
Which he just drew into hand.
Well, beautiful. And then there's also the Pecharunt EX, which
Yes.
will allow him to switch a Pokemon into the active, or Dark Pokemon into the active from the bench. And so we will see the attachment here. We don't see Ends PP up at any point,
No.
so right now it's still down. We'll see the Counter Catcher on the Squawk, and now we just see the Ultra Ball, I think, for Ends Reshiram.
Yeah, I think that's probably what's going on here, because I think Raf's going to look to play the Iono here, draw some more cards, and then hopefully he can draw into the Ends PP up, so he can power up this Zoroark on the bench.
Yes. And so for those in the chat, Weeks of Grass is terrible. Yes. Enzorark is not great so far, Dan, but hopefully gets better.
Yes.
And
I don't know if it'll ever be the glory days that you guys are talking about, but hopefully it's...
I don't want it to be. It would be going back to having one deck be clear best deck in format for forever, and I don't like it.
Yeah.
And then for Sean, they may. I don't know if they will. I don't know when. It would be cool to see at least.
Yes. I don't know how many more ends Pokemon based off like the actual lore of the game that they could possibly make. Maybe like a Zekrom or something like that.
That's a great question, and I
Yeah.
don't know
I
either.
wouldn't know.
All
Yeah.
right, so we see a Nest Ball to get a Petcheron, but I do not know if we have PP up.
I don't believe so. I didn't get to look really.
Well, we have a Darmatan. Oh, I guess we don't need the Petcheron, but we really just need that PP up. And yeah, I
Yeah.
did not see. So we'll have to see when Rafal shows us his hand. Do we have it? We do,
Oh, we do
actually.
have it.
There we
Oh,
go.
Ends PP
And
up.
PP is all the way up, and we are going to be able to see an attack and knock out this Squawkabilly EX for 170. Cat, I'm also not allowed to read that
Yes.
one out loud. All right, so we I cannot say.
Yeah.
Anyway,
The
Zoroark does
chat's
take
going-
a knockout.
chat's going
Rafal
crazy
is
here.
hyped.
Chat is going crazy right now.
All right, so Lily's Clefairy still has an opportunity to reach and not knock out the Zoroark, but get pretty close. So, Brian, how does Eli, I'm going to try to keep a straight face,
Yes.
how does Eli respond to this attack? Because, man, Roth is up right now.
Yeah, I want to say that there's a couple ways you can go around it. You can kind of try to take out one of the attackers, like it was a Darumaka. Yeah, it's Darumaka, or like one of the attackers like that, or the Reshiram, just to get back on even pricing. Or you can try to go over and try to take out maybe something like the Fez to kind of limit some of Roth's draw support as well.
And I think that's a big deal. And one of the big advantages of having this Zoroark is you have such strong draw on your board, and it's not something that's easily one-hit KO'd or a liability like Mew EX or Fezandipity. So now, unless Eli's able to knock out the Zoroark, Fall's going to see at least 4 cards from these two guys.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, it just shows too that how great like trade Zoroark can really be is because it's both its attacker and it can be draw support as well. So it doesn't have to rely on something like the Fez to consistently being like on board draw.
And this is why,
Yeah.
please, it's okay to cancel me, guys.
Yeah.
I got a kid. I'm semi-retired. So the reason why I think this End Zoroark is so much weaker than the previous Zoroark is End Zoroark is reliant on bench Pokemon to attack and does not have as much of a stable, aggressive attack as the previous Zoroark did. In addition, you can't play with the same kind of partners like Golisopod GX, like Lycanroc GX,
Yeah.
and a bunch of others. So it is definitely strong. It is cool. It is getting the lovers of N and his Zoroark out, but I don't think it's going to be the same level of power at any point.
Yeah, it definitely won't based on what I've been told, but you know, one can hope.
Yes.
Yes.
All right. So then for Eli is not out of the game, although he's not in
No.
a great spot here. The advantages, and Brian, you mentioned it, this Clefairy going down is only 1 prize.
Yes, only 1 prize right now. So it's definitely something that Ralph has to kind of work around and I mean, there's definitely ways around it based off of the other Pokemon around, but yeah, it's pretty much a constant 1 prizer that's going to be kind of taking all these little prizes here and there that Ralph really has to worry about.
And that's the big deal, is that Eli's able to extend the game so much longer while still using a Pokemon that can reach for one-hit KOs pretty easily.
Yeah, especially if something like the Area Zero is in play, it just elevates the attack damage so much more.
It does. And so for Rafal now, Rafal has an opportunity to still draw and try to find a Gust to knock out a 2-prizer on the bench. And the advantage is he has that Ends Reshiram available, which is a huge deal because that enables him to now hit for 400 damage on anything, which is a huge deal. And yes, Hop's Double does the same thing, and it is very, very, very strong, except for it doesn't attack. And that is, weirdly enough, a big miss because with Dumbreon back in the day, Umbreon VMAX, with Lycanroc GX, as Dan said, those are excellent attackers.
Yeah, like it was a big one because the Umbreon VMAX was able to take knockouts on Gardevoir EX, and that was a big reason why it was played.
Well, it was also able to one-shot Mew VMAX.
Yeah, that too.
Which is a huge deal.
Huge deal. Yeah.
And then Lycanroc GX had his GX attack as righteous. No, whatever. It go boom boom. So it did 50 damage times the number of your opponent's bench Pokemon, which was plenty.
Yeah.
All right, N
Ends PP up.
is ready to go, and I'm not going to get canceled again. But we have the card to accelerate energy, which is great. And then now, I mean, dude, Rafal's just cooking here.
Yeah, definitely.
And so we haven't seen a supporter played, so we're probably going to see a Gust on the Clefairy, right?
think so. Does he have boss in hand, or is
He
that?
did have boss in hand, I believe.
I think that's an Ends Castle. I
Oh,
don't
is it an
know.
Ends
It looks
Castle?
like I don't know what it is actually, to be honest with you.
I thought it was a boss, but
Yeah.
it may be an Ends Castle. So we will have to see. I think you're right. I think
Yeah.
it is an Ends Castle. So Roth missing a Gust, which is problematic, but not catastrophic because
Yeah.
he is still ahead.
Definitely. And do you know if that Lily's Clefairy has a dark weakness?
It does.
So is there
I think it does,
a
if not metal.
yeah, is there I wonder if there is a like a a reason to maybe use the Darmana cannon.
It is an option.
Yeah.
Backseat, yes, it is called Ends PP
Yeah.
up. Oof. Yes, there are a couple staples for the Ends deck. A lot of them is, I think, Brent Halliburton has described it as a
Yeah.
parasitic set.
Yeah.
All the Ends cards go into the deck, but the others are very basics like Buddy Poffin, Arvin. You need Ultra Balls, Nest Balls. You need Pheasantipity. You need Gust. Everything else is pretty
Dan, they
straightforward.
really just want you to say the
Apparently,
name.
and yes, absolutely, people are going to get the
Yeah.
from regional stream because
Yeah.
of this. All right, so Brian, Rafal takes a knockout.
Yes.
We take a prize, go down to 3 prizes remaining. Eli has an opportunity here, but what is Eli's plan? How does he get back into the game?
I think Eli kind of has to rely on Ogerpon here. I feel like Ogerpon kind of gets over the hump here until you can kind of set up another Clefairy.
And that's really the tricky part. Is
Yeah.
it's pretty simple to set up a Clefairy. It's attached E-switch,
Yeah.
but you still have to find those pieces.
Yeah.
And now you got to fill your board enough to take advantage of it.
Yeah, exactly. And as long as you're able to get something like an Earthen Vessel, you can power up that Ogerpon like really, really quickly. So that could also be an option here.
Cat, I'm also not going to read
Yeah.
that one out loud, but you're not wrong.
Yeah.
All right, so Eli does get the Grass Energy and the Psychic Energy. And for those who are like, well, why didn't you just use the Night Stretcher? Because Eli really wants to get both so he can draw with the Grass Energy and still attach the Psychic.
Yes. And he's got the attack here because having the E-switch is a really great resource here.
Yes, absolutely. And so we see the E-switch available, and that is a...
Is that an Iron Leaves?
That is an Iron Leaves EX. And so, Brian, why is that card so good in here?
Yeah, the Iron Leaves is a really cool tech just because, well, one, once you place it onto the board, it automatically shoots itself up into the active,
Yes.
which is, really powerful. Free pivot. And then it allows you to put as many grass, I think it's just grass energies.
No, any energies.
Oh, any energy.
Any energies.
Onto the Iron Leaves, and you can move onto it. So I think its attack does 190 base damage.
180.
180. And it's really good into stuff like the Zoroark, Charizard. It was mainly made for Charizard EX, but
Yes.
it takes care of a lot of these grass-weak Pokemon as well. So really great resource.
It is. It is an excellent, excellent card. And it was actually used in stuff like, what was I going to say? Like Regidrago V-Star at
Yeah,
Worlds, because
yeah.
it was such a good baseline attacker for turn 1 where you could apply a ton of pressure going second in the matchup.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, so we do see Arvin for a fall, and at this point, this is probably where we see that unfair stamp, right? We have only Mew EX down. We do have a couple Teal Mask Ogrepon. There's no Hoot Hoot.
Yeah.
There's really no good out for Eli to respond. So
Yeah, I really like the Mochi here.
I agree because
Yes.
we wouldn't have the knockout otherwise, but the Mochi fixes that math.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, yep.
And so with this, Mochi, yes, I actually played in Lost Tina to EUIC, and I shouldn't have done that.
Yeah, I also played it in Tina for a little bit as well.
It was a mistake.
Yeah.
All right, but so with Rafal's turn, and Brian, you mentioned why Zoroark is so good in here. Rafal's going to play that to draw 5 cards, then draw 3 with Pheasantipity, then draw 4 more with his Zoroarks. And
Yeah.
dude, we're cooking.
Yeah, definitely. Has he attached return already?
He has not,
Yeah,
I believe.
so I think that's a stretcher that's in his hand as well that he can use. So
For those who are asking why they're laughing, we actually have a rescue stretcher in here, and a rescue stretcher from back in the day of put a Pokemon into your hand or shuffle 3 into your deck. It is not a night stretcher, which is why Rafal was very confused.
yes.
And Arctic, yes, I also wish Zoroark had better attackers paired with it. And Cat, yes.
Yes, we were just talking about this actually the last round.
We were. Raging
Yeah.
Bolt was the
Raging Bolt.
first deck we saw?
Yeah, and it's definitely a really good deck going into the format.
It is. All right, so we see the manual attachment to end Zoroark. Rafal is in position to attack and take the knockout, which, to be honest, he doesn't really care all that much about only taking 1 prize because he's at 3. And so now we're going to go down to 2 prizes remaining. And I don't think Eli plays Briar.
That is a good question. I would not know.
Because here's the thing. If Eli plays Briar, this
He
game's
just-
over if
yeah.
he hits it.
Definitely.
Well, we found the Iona, not the Briar.
Yeah.
So let's see. I
Ooh.
think Eli's debating. But to be honest, Brian,
I think you need to play the Iono here.
I agree. Because there was
Yeah.
no combination of cards that enabled you to get that Briar play off there.
Yeah. Let's see what he drew.
We see a
Area
Nest Ball.
Zero, Nest Ball. Nest Ball can get you like Fez or something like that.
Exactly. And that's probably
Yeah.
going to be the line because there's nothing else he would need.
Yeah.
Unfortunately,
there
too, Iron
Fez?
Leaves does not work off of Nest Ball. It has to be from
yes,
hand.
has to be from hand. That's a big one.
So
Ooh,
we
looks like another
Clefairy.
Clefairy.
Do we not have Pheasantipity available?
Ooh.
We did not build Palafin, but to be honest, I'd be super curious to try that out. So
Yeah.
stay tuned. Maybe in a couple weeks.
That's true.
All right. So then, if we don't have Fez here, Brian, what do we do?
Ooh. It might be. I don't think there's a way for Eli to even get an attack out here.
I don't think so
Yeah.
either. He would have to hit a Earthen Vessel or an Earthen Vessel off of this restart for 1.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, even then, you draw. Well, okay, I guess, yeah. If you do that, you knock out the Zoroark, and that's pretty good.
Yeah.
But, I mean, is there any other out?
I don't know. I guess we got to see what this restart gives us.
I don't know. And, oof, unfortunately, I will not be winning the 1K because I will be talking about the
Yes.
1K. So,
We will not be playing.
no. If you.
Alright, just Ogre Pond.
Oh.
Yeah, I don't think this is. I think this game is over.
This game is not going great because, yeah, we have to retreat into Knockdown
Yep.
and just hope that Rafal doesn't have a gust to close out the game.
Yeah, and when you have something like 2 trades available,
Well, or the boss
Oh.
in hand. And so Rafal goes to 2-0. And Bryce, can we throw up that end Zoroark list?
yeah, let's go over it.
Because that was a pretty dominating win, actually.
Yeah, it definitely was. And I mean, Raf is a really good player too. So
Yes.
it definitely shows that once you get some reps on it, and you sort of know like what kind of sequences to look for, it can actually be a pretty decent deck.
It
Yeah.
can. And like you said, that sequencing is so important because whenever you are able to draw consistently and you have a bunch of powerful 1 or 2 ofs, being able to play effectively is so important.
Yeah, and I think playing Gardevoir for a while kind of like taught me how to do that. Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, we apparently going to see a Slow King, which is excellent. And yes, we had some Arch also to start off our day,
Yes.
but we'll hopefully get some better Arch in a little bit.
Yeah.
Bryce, are you throwing up another poll?
Yeah, we'll throw
Beautiful.
up a poll.
Bryce is actually going to throw. Mike, I'm also not going to
Yeah.
say that. We are going to see Bryce throw up a poll here so y'all can pick, not this round, but what the next round is going to be. And so, Brian, do you think ENDS has an opportunity to be competitive going into Atlanta?
Competitive, yes. I don't know if I see it winning the event or top 8ing the event, but you'll definitely see like a handful of them in day 2, I believe. And I think it's just going to be some really good players with some very innovative builds that really show the power that it can have.
And I agree. I think it's the innovative part that is both why it's so powerful and the tricky part because you can do some really cool stuff.
Yeah.
And the Darmanitan is really interesting. The Restroom can let you do cool things. Being able to draw is great. The only problem is because you're limited by the attackers that have N in their name,
Yeah.
there's only so many things you can do.
Yeah, definitely. And for Junior here, the castle gives all of End's Pokemon free retreat.
Yes, which is actually really, really good because N's PP up can only lift the bench.
Yes.
So you do need to hold it until you're able to get effective value out of it and then get that attacker back into the active.
Yeah, and I think the count of it is fine too because there's so much Area Zero kind of running around the format that being able to have like an effective stadium bump is a really good idea.
It is huge.
Yeah.
I agree. And that's also why Pecharunt EX is in here because
Yes.
you need other ways to get your attackers into the active, especially as we saw turn 1, or game 1 or game 2
Yep.
with that sob. That's problematic.
Yeah.
Because you can lock stuff out.
Definitely.
And yes, all of you made great points that I, again, am not going to read out loud.
Yes.
So, Bryce, can you throw up that Clefairy list whenever you have an opportunity? And y'all, please, we have the poll in the chat. Y'all vote for what you want to see because we have some cool stuff.
Yes.
All right, so Brian, I know I talked a lot about ends. Tell us about Clefairy.
Yeah, so the Clefairy deck is cool because the Lily's Clefairy has a pretty easy power-up attack with the Full Moon Rondo, and it also has that Fairy Zone ability, making dragons have a weakness to Psychic, so it has a very good Dragapult matchup. And Dragapult has been very popular lately, and I think going
Yes.
into the rotation, a lot of people are going to be, sticking to Dragapult as well. So definitely effective for that. Teal Mask Ogerpon has been kind of like a staple um, basic EX in the format for the ever since it came out. Being able to have that Teal Dance ability, put a basic Grass Energy, draw a card. Myriad Leaf Shower is a really good attack. Takes out a lot of those Dark type Pokemon as well. Taking advantage of the Noctowl engine, so you can get a lot of those, trainer cards in hand when you have a Terra in play, and just super easy to attack with, very very quickly. And then the Pearl is the big part of this deck too, just because it makes those Clefairies a one prizer.
So, Rose, yes. So Jolly makes 2 great points. Get you out of Sob Blocks. Dress for Alligator. Does get through Melodic, though you can get through Melodic with Clefairy. The
Yes.
other reason it's so good is because it applies more pressure than Ogerpon. In addition, you're able to set it up without having anything else like an energy switch or something like that. You can throw it onto the board as long as there's 2 or 3 energy down and be able to attack with it.
Yeah, because like a common strategy that people will try to do is they'll see that there's not too many energy kind of spread out on the board, and they'll just try to gust around it just to make you waste more of your resources. But when you play the Iron Leaves, it just moves everything at once.
And we're going to jump into our next game. But one note as we're doing that, if you don't play Buddy Poffin, play the 80 HP Hoot Hoot.
Yes.
Because there is an 80 HP Hoot Hoot. And now we are getting into the game, and we are going to see Slowking versus Archduraludon Poison. So for those who wanted to see some bridge, we got some bridge for y'all.
Yeah, definitely.
But we are starting with Kevin playing Slowking. And Brian, I'll give you the option. Do you want Slowking or Arch?
Probably Arch, yeah.
All right, sweet. So I'll talk about
Yeah.
Slowking. So Slowking is a ridiculous freaking deck. So what it is based around is that Slowking has an attack for a Psychic and a Colorless that says discard the top card of your deck. If that card is a Pokemon without a rule box, use one of its attacks as this attack. And if you're saying, Dan, that is ridiculous. How is that possibly good? Number one, you're right. But number two, there are a couple basic or even evolution non-rule box Pokemon that have insane attacks. And one of them is the guy in the active right there, Kyurem.
Yeah, the Kyurem is super powerful because you like auto win stuff like Dragapult, Gardevoir, Charizard, stuff that like needs setup through many turns. And it just takes advantage of that just by being able to knock everything out so quickly. And you only lose like the 2 energy, and it's like pretty easy to kind of get those back.
And it is. And that's actually the really nice thing is even though it's a 2 energy attack cost, you can use reversal energy or, and this is the draw engine I use in heavy air quotes for the deck, you use Xatu.
Yeah, Xatu, yeah.
So Xatu has the same ability as the old Shadow Rider Calyrex back in the day, which was a 3-prizer, but it says attaches psychic energy from your hand to one of your bench Pokemon. If you do, draw 2 cards. And that sets up your attacker, and it enables you to burn through your deck. But now we're getting back over to Arch. So, Brian, talk us through what Rafal's doing and what this deck is for.
Yeah, I think what Raf is trying to do here is what Kevin wasn't able to do earlier, which is, try to get those Duraludons down early. The nice thing about this matchup is that Duraludon has 130 HP, so able to survive the Kyurem attacks. And Archaludon EX is just a very tall Pokemon as well, so able to survive those as well. So going to be pretty big, pretty bulky, and takes pretty easy knockouts with that 220 from the Metal Defender.
And so this is where it's going to be interesting because Slowking typically preys on evolution decks with small basics.
Yes.
But 130 HP Metal type is not small.
Yes.
So there's a solid chance Rafal's going to be able to pull off a pretty clean win here unless, Brian, there's a line you're thinking of that I'm not seeing.
Yeah, I think it kind of depends on some of the other Pokemon that Slowking has available to attack with.
And I think Kevin is a little salty that Rafal hit the Pokegear turn 1 when Kevin did not while trying to play this. All right, so we are going to see the other Pokegear trying to find, I think, a research here for Rafal.
I think so.
Because Carmine's not exactly what you want to see.
He got the research.
And so Kevin's face describes so many games I've played over the past year. I don't know about you, Brian.
Yeah, I would say so too.
All right, so we are going to see research for Rafal. We've already got the Brute Bonnet down. Brian, what else does Rafal want to see in his board?
More Duraludons.
All right, fair enough. All right, thank you. That's all we can go home now. So is there anything else we need?
Yeah, I think just Duraludons. It's gonna be nice to have energies, just because you do need to have more of those energies in the discard in order for the Assemble Alloy ability to work as well.
And we see the booster capsule go
Yes.
down onto the Squawk because why not?
Yeah, because why not?
So the one thing I actually would love to see here is a Pecharunt.
Yes, I do like
Because
that. Yeah.
I would love to see Rafal knock out this Kyurem going back into Rafal's turn if
Yes.
Kevin's unable to move it.
Yeah, definitely. And Moshi just knows we do love some Duraludon around here.
That is true.
NRG Durademons, we're so back.
For those who have no idea what we were talking about, Nerd Rage Gaming has a reputation apparently for playing a lot of Arc Duraludon back in the day, which is a very big, highly intelligent deck that required lots of foresight and critical thinking.
Yes.
But you just knew coming up here to play, there's going to be a bajillion.
There's going to be a bunch of them. I remember the first time I ever played here, I was playing Dura, and I think I played like 2 or 3 mirror matches that night.
Excellent.
Yeah.
All right, so back on topic. Sorry. So, and Budu, I think, could be a really good out here. The issue is that it then gives a line for Kevin to get more opportunity with that Kyurem later. So just another Duraludon seems really strong.
Yes. The only thing I'm kind of questioning about Ralph's setup here is his bench is completely full
It is.
with only 2 Duraludons.
Now, granted,
Yeah.
what else would you want to see on his bench?
Yeah, that's fair. I feel like I kind of like just having like some of the open spaces when available, but
And I would tend
Yeah.
to agree. The only thing I would say is the space is typically open for follow-up Duraludons,
Yep.
for Pheasantipity, and then for additional Brute Bonnets, which we kind of got all of
Yeah.
that. All right, and so Rafal is deciding to poison his Duraludon to try to increase damage done to this Kyurem, and I think try to get a knockout coming back in without putting down another 2-prizer. Oh, but yes, that Perilous Jungle, it affects both.
Yes, the Perilous Jungle.
And so for those watching, Perilous Jungle says, during Pokemon Checkup, any poison Pokemon take 2 additional damage counters unless they're a Dark type, which now Dark or Poison. Anyway,
Yes.
Brian, what's Kevin trying to do now?
I think Kev just wants to attack here. He has the Slow King now, and this deck is interesting because it plays like the Academy at night, which allows you to put something on the top. So when you discard your top cards, it could be something that you could force into the top of the deck. So you kind of have some agency on what's being used.
And that is the combination because you put it from your hand. So as long
Yes.
as you can Ultra Ball draw into the Pokemon you want to discard, then you can be set up to do whatever attack you want.
Yeah.
And so now, unfortunately, Kevin did find an attacker in a Kyurem, has not found an out to another attacker or a not to. It is not Kevin's day, man.
Yeah, it really isn't yet, but hopefully it can turn it around the next couple of turns because I wonder how Ralph's hand is looking here if he can really set up the next turn.
So this is why I think it would have been really cool to go into the Pecharunt, because with the Pecharunt, this Kyurem would actually be knocked out.
Yes,
And then Rafal would have an opportunity to take another prize and actually just win the game.
definitely.
So now, looking at Rafal's hand, Kevin, or Brian, excuse me, what's the move?
So I see Ralph has an Ultra Ball in hand, so I think he can get the Dura if he needs it. I don't know what's in the discard energy wise though, so that's my only concern with trying to, force up the Archaludon.
And I'm
Yeah.
not sure either. I don't actually think there are any, or if there's only one energy in the discard
Yeah.
pile.
Oh, he's
Oh,
looking
but
for
we do see the Slow King get gusted up. Wait, but we don't have a knockout.
Yeah, I don't think we have a knockout yet.
Oh,
can-
goodness.
Maybe repoison.
Wait, but we have the Mochi.
Oh yeah, the Mochi is there. Yeah,
So we're going to do 70 plus 30.
100.
That's 100. And that is not a knockout. But if Kevin does not bounce the stadium, he will be knocked out coming back
Yeah.
into his turn. That's wild. What is happening?
Yeah, this is definitely an interesting way to play the game right now.
Oh, we do
Oh,
see an
there we
S
go.
ball. All right. So then is this a Natu? Is this a
I
Slowpoke?
think it's a Slowpoke.
Okay. So why is
Yeah.
that, do you think?
I think you just need to set up another attacker because if you have like something like an energy, he's got the research, he's got Iono, so just set up that second attacker, and then hopefully when you play one of those supporters, it'll help you draw into another energy or something like that.
Justin, you are 100% on it. Yes, for Slowking, they're using Conkeldurr, they're using Kyurem, they're using Regigigas to knock out Terra Pokemon, and I don't actually know which one Ape is. What is Ape? Is it Infernape or Justin? Which one
Yeah.
is Ape? Because I don't think I know of that one.
Yeah.
And oof, that would be awesome to have that kind of new set come out. I am terrified to what happens if that does happen. And
Yeah.
Teacup, we're all fans of Kevin, but I'm
Yes.
glad you're a #1 fan. All right, so Brian, what is Kevin do?
Oh,
Oh,
Annihilate.
so do you know what that Annihilate does,
No
Brian?
idea.
So
No
the
idea.
Annihilate has an attack that says exactly, Cat, knock out both Pokemon.
Oh, what?
So is it very good for you? Not great, but if you are literally swapping 2 for 1 or closing
Yeah.
out the game, that's pretty sick.
That is pretty sick. Especially now that like we're getting 3-prizers back into the format later this year too.
Yes.
That could be a really interesting way to trade prizes.
Listen, Slowking's
Yeah.
time has yet to come. All right, so now Kevin has a choice.
Ooh, he's got a
we-
Cypher Maniacs.
He does.
Oh, that's actually pretty interesting. That could also be like a possible win con, or not, like I guess knockout condition that he could kind of work around. But
So the only
yeah.
issue is the second Kyurem was in his hand.
yes.
So we can't cipher into a Kyurem.
Oh, okay, okay.
But we do get to see a Natu. We do see an Energy, which is good.
Yes.
Buddy,
Buddy
okay,
Poffin, yeah, this is probably the better play.
it's more reasonable.
Yes.
But we are actually setting up. However, what we didn't see is a Stadium Bounce,
Yes.
which means even if we get the attack off, we can discard a Pokemon or card and just try to see. But we're going to get knocked out going back into Rafal's turn.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, looking at the Budu here.
And to
Yeah.
retreat into the Budu? Actually, so that would put this Duraludon at 100 damage. We would still be 30 damage away.
Yeah, still be poisoning too, even though the resistance doesn't take damage because of the the grass resistance.
It would
It still
still,
takes damage from the poison.
it would. And also,
Yeah.
we were just talking about Slowking getting knocked out back into Rafal's turn.
Yeah.
This would get Duraludon knocked out going back into Kevin's turn.
Yeah.
And generic, yes, thank you. That is exactly the Annihilate.
Yes.
All right, so Brian, is the Budu the move?
Oh man. I don't know actually. I'm so unfamiliar with how this deck works.
Well, I mean, the other option is to
Yeah. Is the-
discard a card and hope it's a Pokemon.
Yeah, that's
that
very
doesn't
true.
feel
That
great.
does not feel great.
Kevin is
Yeah.
hamming it up a little bit
Yeah.
here.
He seems a little more clueless than we do
I know.
about the matchup.
I do like benching the other Natu though, honestly,
Yes.
because you want to be able to draw. So we'll see the retreat into the Budu. Poison still on the Duraludon.
And then go for the itchy pollen here.
I think
potentially.
so.
All right.
Itchy Pollen, no damage done. Duraludon goes to 100 damage counters.
Okay.
We have a boss, a Night Stretcher, an Ultra Ball, Mew, Iono. None of those cards
Yeah.
help this Duraludon survive.
And there's still no energy in the discard pile.
There's no energy. Holy. Okay, so Rafal's in a tough spot. And you can't hear, we in the background hear Eli laughing hysterically at
Yes.
Kevin pulling off the Budu play here.
Yep.
All right, so Kevin, what does Rafal do?
I don't even know. I think he just tries to. I mean, he can knock out the Budu here.
He actually can.
Yeah, he can knock out the Budu here, which is pretty nice.
So the issue is knocking out the Budu and doing nothing else.
I mean, he knocks himself out.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then Kevin will have an opportunity to gust if he wants to knock out that Duraludon.
Yeah. I feel like you kind of maybe. I don't know how I feel about playing Iono at this point too.
Well, actually, I think you need to Iono.
Yeah.
And the only reason being, Boss doesn't really help here. It knocks out the Slowking, sure, but Kevin has a way to set up like another Slowking, and you're still going to lose one of your 2 Duraludon.
Yeah. Definitely doesn't feel good. But there's, at least at this point, there is going to be 1 energy in the discard pile.
That is true. But now the question is, what does Rafal put up? I
Yeah.
assume a Bonnet.
I would think so too.
Does he still have access to... Oh.
Ooh, this is kind of interesting now.
This is very interesting. So... Oh, and we have the unique... So, okay, let me get to this in a sec. So, Brian, can Kevin just ruin Rafal's day here?
I think he can.
I think he can too. I think he
Yeah.
can absolutely cook him.
Yeah.
So, what is the out to knock out this Duraludon for Kevin? I think we're bossing Kyurem if we're
Yeah.
bossing.
Oh man.
Or do you want me to take a shot at it?
Yeah, take a shot at it.
All right,
I'm not really seeing it.
So I think the win condition here for Kevin is to knock out this Duraludon. Because if Kevin knocks out the Duraludon, Rafal's got nothing for at least 2 turns.
Yeah.
Now, in order to do that, as we talked about above, there are a couple Pokemon. Conkeldurr does 250 damage flat. We have Annihilate, which knocks out both, which Kevin probably doesn't want to do, but
Yeah.
it can work. And then we have Kyurem that can spread, should we so desire, though that's not the best one. But I mean, we could certainly knock out this Pokemon. Wait, I thought that was to hand.
Is it to hand?
I thought it was to hand.
Let me look at it.
Yes, so we're going to look that up
Yes.
about if the Super Mega Gigantic Rod is two-hand. But that is what Kevin's ace spec is put 5 energy Pokemon at any combination into your hand. Yeah, and let's see what that is.
Two hand.
Two-hand?
Yeah.
All right, give me 1 second here and
Oh,
let him
he
know.
definitely shuffled.
He did, and
Yeah.
it's okay.
It is okay.
All right.
All right, we're gonna figure this out and we will repeat it.
Max Rod is to hand.
Look at Cav's hand. Cav's hand. Oh man, at least they know. Yeah. It's all right. This is why we test.
All right, so for those who have watched stream in the past, you know this, but this is something we try very, very hard to do, both for fun games and for like the cup or competitive games.
Yes.
Is, dude, if we can fix the board state, fix the board state. Like,
Yes.
let's make sure it's good quality testing here. All right, so then knowing this is all in hand, which is sick. That I don't know if you can hear that, but Kevin just said that is way better. Sorry, give me a second here.
We're all learning what these cards do at the same time,
Yes.
and that's the best part about this.
Bryce, we don't have a specific sleeve sponsor for Nerd Rage, right? All right. So I will say we typically from Nerd Rage as part of the team get Dragon Shield sleeves. FCBC has been giving us some sleeves, and Brown, I don't know about you, but I've loved them. They are
I haven't
nice.
gotten the chance to use them yet.
I've only used
Yeah.
like some decks I've borrowed, but they are really, really nice.
Yeah, I've definitely felt them, and like I think Ralph's using the ones that they gave for our challenge, but I've definitely heard some good things about them.
Yes, and
Yeah.
so if you guys haven't already tried them, I'd recommend checking them out. The owner was in here, gave us some sleeves for our challenge, and I think he even like subbed the channel. So,
Yeah,
dude, give them a chance. They're great sleeves, and I think they're trying very hard to make sure that they have consistent quality going forward.
yeah, which is always good to hear.
Kat, I have not tried the Cortexes, but I will keep that in mind.
Yeah,
All right, so then we have a Slowking. We have a Xatu to draw. We have a supporter we haven't played yet. I mean, is Rafal cooked?
I don't know. I feel like now the fact that he like filled up his board is kind of starting to come back to him now because a gust can really kind of hurt because you put one of these bonnets in the active. It's not leaving the active.
No, man. I'm going to be honest. I don't want a Gust.
Yeah.
I want to knock out this Duraludon.
Yeah, definitely.
Because if this Duraludon goes down, his attacker is Squawk
Hmm.
and Poison, which is not great.
Yeah, definitely.
And yes, double Kyurem would be good game, but to be honest, I don't even think Kevin wants to do that. I think just knocking out this Duraludon is going to be plenty.
Yeah.
And so we see the research. I think Kevin wanted to put that Kyurem back in the deck. And there's the Gigas.
Oh, he's got the Academy at night. Oh,
and we've got the
he's got-
Ultra Ball.
Oh, he's got everything he needs.
Beautiful. So as long as we have a Conkeldurr in deck, we have knockout on this Duraludon. That's wild.
I know. That's crazy to think about. Okay, so there's the Academy at night. And I'm so surprised. I never really thought that this
Oh.
card would actually be like played.
I agree
Yeah.
completely. All right, so we do see the Academy at night.
And he's looking to do the Kyurem here.
We are actually going to see the Kyurem. Interesting.
Yep.
All right, so we're going to see on the Squawk, the Fez, and
The
a
Dura.
bonnet, a bonnet, a bonnet, a
Like-
bonnet. It should have been on the bonnet.
Yeah, probably should have been on the bonnet.
That is okay. We will find out if he is punished next time on Does Rafal Punish Him?
Yeah.
All right, so then assuming that he doesn't get punished, how does Kevin close the game? Is it just another Kyurem?
Probably another Kyurem, right? Because he can take 4 prizes
Yes.
on the two EXs, and then if it was on the bonnet, he would be able to get the knockout. But if this Duraludon evolves, might not be that way.
And that is exactly the concern I was thinking of.
Yeah.
It's really cool if the Duraludon stays unevolved, but if it does evolve, then suddenly Kevin still has to reach another knockout.
Yeah, definitely.
Now, granted, Rafal's taking one prize, so we got time.
Yeah, if he really wants to, he could probably do that again.
But the issue is, this is exactly why we talk about sequencing and making good decisions.
Yes, exactly.
Kevin would have just won had he gone the other route.
Yes.
And Brian, I think Moshi's actually mentioned, because Moshi was talking about our unfortunate record against each other sometimes. One of the, and Kat, this is for you as well, while Rafal's thinking through his life. I think one of the most important things is to play as cleanly as possible, because you want to have your win decided by who hits what they need. And I say that as you want to play so perfectly that the only thing that changes whether or not you win is the variance of the game itself.
Yeah, definitely.
And there are more than a few times where I'll be straight with you, I am not the best player. I'm good. I'm not that good. But there have been plenty of times where I've stolen a win because I was in a poor state. I was drawing poorly. My opponent was in a good place, but they made mistakes that gave me lines back into the game.
Yeah.
And so paying attention to those is essential.
Yeah, definitely. Because sometimes you wouldn't think that you're still in the game, but if you're able to play to those outs, it can give you the win that way.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
No, Moshi, you are not bad, but it's just a good example because we were testing over the weekend in post rotation actually, and Moshi rolled his eyes a couple of times at me, and I'm like, "Hey, Moshi, should you be doing that?" And he's like, "Yes, Dan."
Yes.
All right, so we had the Duraludon, we have the Ultra Ball for the Arch.
There's 2 more energies that we can put in the discard pile as
That
well.
is true. So
He's cooking here.
he is cooking. So we're gonna see. We see the Super Rod. We're going to be able to get some stuff. The Latias, an Arch. Is there anything else we need?
Oh, he does have the Ultra Ball.
It is indeed the Palpad incident, Mochi. It's not really that mysterious.
Yes.
He just played a Palpad when he shouldn't have.
Oh.
All right, so we see the Ultra Ball. To get the 2 energy in the discard, we get the Arch down. We are actually going to be able to attack with Metal Defender.
Well, I think this is the first Metal Defender we've had all night.
This is of 2 games with
Of 2
Bridge.
games, and it's taken this long. How long's this stream been going?
It's been
Like
a while.
An hour and a half.
It's been a while, guys. So for those watching at home, like, hey, is Bridge a good play?
Yeah.
The evidence does not support it so
yeah,
far.
Right now, it's just showing. Maybe it's the way that we built the decks, or the way that we sequenced it. So, even though like the deck in theory sounds good, you still need to kind of draw into what you need, and sometimes you don't really have the tools to do that.
So you even mentioned at the start, like it's like playing with Radiant Greninja Prize each game.
Every game.
There isn't a clear attacker that, well, all right, there you go. There's an energy. Or excuse me, there isn't a clear draw engine that Bridge really has to stay in the game.
Yeah, definitely.
All right. Moshi, you were not punished, but yes. So, okay, on Kevin's side, we have the Xatu to accelerate the energy and draw. How else is Kevin getting to this win condition?
Can Conkeldurr knock out?
Conkeldurr can indeed knock out this Arch, because 110 damage plus 250, that is way more than 300.
That probably sounds like a pretty decent. I don't see a Conkeldurr, though.
I don't either. Now, I see a Blood Moon.
Yeah.
And that's pretty cool. And yes, Justin, I don't know if the other version is more consistent, because there are still techs and tools in there, but it does have the dun-duns to draw. So maybe that's one to check out later.
Yeah, definitely.
And Bryce, what won our poll for the next round anyway?
Let's see the poll here.
For Alligator. All right.
Okay.
Good. We'll have a fun one then.
Yeah, that'll be fun.
All right. So Kevin has the draw. We have Ultra Ball stuff in hand. We are able to dig for a supporter with Tatsugiri. We're just going to throw it all away. And I mean, Brian, it seems like that's what needs to happen anyway.
Yeah. I don't think there was much that he could have done to, like, thin with the Ultra Balls.
I agree. The only thing is we really need an out to find a Pokemon from the discard.
Yeah.
Ooh. And that's not it. Yes. Oof, we can certainly talk about singles to pick up.
Definitely.
So we'll have a little bit of break in just a minute here, but I think Brian may miss this attack.
Yeah, he might.
So are we out of Night Stretcher, or do you know how many resources are left here, Brian?
All I know is that there's no max rod to go back to hand.
It's very true. We are
Yeah,
plumb out of max rods at this
yeah.
point.
Oh no, there's like 6 cards left. Oh yeah. Oh, there's
There
one.
are
There's
there's a
one.
Night Stretcher.
There's a night stretcher in there.
All right. So and now this is again the issue. There's one Night Stretcher.
Yeah, there's one night stretcher. I don't know how many. If you can really draw into it.
Well, he can't,
Yeah.
which is the issue. But it also meant that if he had hit it, he would have won the game this turn. But
Yeah.
now, if Rafal bosses this Slow King,
Yeah.
it's all over.
I know.
So,
Oh,
Brian, what
man.
would you like to see Kevin do here?
Um. Okay, I can see that. The Badoo's fine. It's just.
I actually disagree.
Yeah.
I think Budu is fine, but why didn't we use a Jet Energy?
Oh, to put the. Oh, so you keep that. I mean, you need that energy to attack.
You do, but you had
Yeah.
2 Jet in hand.
Yeah.
And then you would be able to draw with Zatu next turn in order
Yeah.
to get down. All right, but we just see the knockout on the, on the Budu.
Yep.
And now we got to take 5 prizes with 1 attack.
Yes.
What do you think the line is, Brian?
I think the only thing is that it's gonna take 2 turns at minimum in order to do this.
And we literally do not have the resources
I
to do this.
know. Oh man.
So the nice part is, though, Kevin can Iono here.
I think if Kev Iono's here, I think he draws into his whole deck.
Well, he's going to put his hand at the bottom.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Yes, but I agree. He would draw his whole deck, which
Yeah.
means he would hit it. All right,
Oh,
so I think
man.
Kevin is just talking this through with Rafal. So, I mean,
Yeah.
is there another line?
Another line? Not that I see here. I think you just kind of need to like jet Iono.
And just hit the Night Stretcher?
Yeah.
I don't think you're wrong. And
Yeah.
you kind of have to hope that in taking those 4 prizes, well, and actually, he still has Blood Moon Urshifu available
Oh
to
yeah,
close out.
the bear.
Yes, so there is a line for Brian to close this
Yeah.
out.
There is. I'm wondering though, do you obviously jet first? And then oh, this is interesting. What are we doing here?
That is interesting. So we are going to
Yeah,
Iono.
Iono.
So, and I actually don't know if I understand this line here,
Yeah.
Brian. What do you think Kevin's plan is?
I think he's trying to go for the Ursaluna play.
Oh, the Ursuluna play now to take a knockout?
Yes, but my only thing is that it still needs 2 energy to attack.
It does. And we just attached to the
To the
Tatsugiri.
Tatsugiri, yeah.
And so I agree, which if you clear out the bench guys and take all those prizes there, then I don't know if you all just saw Rapal's reaction there, but there was a surprise.
Yes.
Surprise. Sorry, Blood Moon Ursaluna. I got Urshifu
Yeah.
on the mind. But yes, Dan was saying Drayton and Kofu. Kofu actually I think is a better card than it gets credit for and will be decent coming up.
Yeah. I think Drayton will have its time eventually.
I agree, especially in single prize decks.
Yeah.
All right, so Kevin declining to do anything here. What am I missing?
Yeah, I'm a little confused here as well because I feel like this game could have been over by now.
100%. It absolutely would have been. And I think Kevin knows this, or if Kevin doesn't know this, oh
Yeah.
boy, will we let him know. But now the thing I think I want to see is if there's a way to get another, Duraludon down.
Yeah.
Dude, knock out this Slow King.
Yeah.
Like, absolutely knock out this Slow King.
There we
We are
go.
going to knock out the Slow King. Knock it out. But here's the problem. We don't have another attacker.
Yes.
So how is Rafal knocking out this Blood Moon?
And there's 2 jets in hand.
There are 2 jets in hand.
Yes, you can jet loop.
We
the
absolutely
bear.
can. And we just knock out,
Yeah.
right? We just straight up knock out?
I think so.
Okay. And there's the Conkeldurr. It was Prime.
Oh man.
Brian, I have a lot of questions about the decision making on
Yeah.
here.
I think this is why we test.
This is exactly why we test.
Yeah.
All right. So we have the research. We have the mochi. That's about all we got,
All right, the perilous jungle is coming in.
which is good. So now we will have an opportunity to do something.
Yeah.
We have the Mochi coming down on the Fez. What is happening,
Yeah,
Brian?
I'm a little confused here as well.
So if you guys hear us like stunned into silence, it's because we have no idea what the hell's going on.
Yeah,
I have a lot of questions.
I also have a lot of
Well,
questions.
let's do this. While they're just kind of working through the things they're doing over there, Brian, what are some of the singles out of the new set that you think are worth picking up?
Out of the new set, so I've been trying to get the Hops Wooloo and double line.
Yes.
I was able to pull a Dunsparce EX,
Nice.
which
Wonderful.
is really nice. That was helpful.
And what does that one do?
So it's got an attack for 1 colorless energy, and I think it does 50 or 60 for each EX and play.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep,
something
60
like that.
per each EX and play.
Yes.
And then 3 colorless for 150 in shred.
Yes. Yeah. And it's cool because you can kind of like throw it in any sort of deck that plays the Dunsparce line, which is pretty cool. I was able to pull a Lily's Clefairy already, so I don't have to worry too much about that. That was very nice. Zoroark line. It's nice that the pre-release kits give you like the Darumaka, Darmanitan, stuff like that. I was able to pull a Reshiram, which is nice. If you get a booster box, you can get one of the pretty Reshirams out of the box topper, which is pretty cool. For the other playables, there's that Levincia stadium that lets you get 2
Yes, 2 lightning energy back from your discard.
Yeah, so that's a really cool Goldengo piece.
Yes,
so I
similar to
really
Mount
like
Coronet
that one.
from the back.
Yeah, I kind of like that one a lot. Some of the Hops cards are pretty cool too, like the Hops bag. Search 2 Hops Pokemon, put them on the bench.
Yep.
I feel like if the Hops archetype gets good, you can definitely take advantage of that.
And I would like it to be good. I do think 1 Hopsation is important. It fits in Archduraludon, and it could fit in some other stuff too. So probably worth picking up since it can attack for free with the Hops badge, bangle, charm.
It's like a band or something like
Hops
that.
band, that's fine.
Yeah, so that's a pretty cool item too. The Hops Pokemon also has a stadium support too. I think it does more damage.
There are damage modifiers, and there is a Hops Snorlax that will also do damage, or excuse me, increase damage done.
Yeah, and that's also one of the pre-release like promos too that you can get. You can get like a different art, one of those two. So that's pretty cool.
And I agree. There is a lot of us that are annoyed that the Zacian EX does not come out yet, because that would one-shot a Cornerstone for 3 energy, whereas Hop requires 4.
Yes.
And all right, so now, does Rafal have the knockout on the Blood Moon? We have a Carmine. We have a boss. We do not have an Ultra Ball in hand.
Yeah. Maybe if we get like a...
We do have... All right. So we can draw 5. There is a Night Stretcher in there, and we will be able to poison and knock out the Blood Moon, Urshifu, Ursaluna. Yes. All right, so Rafal takes it down, goes to 3-0, and now we get to see Feraligatr and I don't even know what else. Gator? Gator, let's see it.
Yeah,
and
Gator won the poll.
Bryce, did someone rate us? Is that very polite of them? Who did? Who?
Oh.
M-I-G-H-O. Mikau, thank you very much for rating us. Awesome to have you here. Thank you for bringing some friends with. It is great to have you be a part of this. All right, so Bryce, can you just throw us?
Yeah.
Because let's talk through a couple other singles that are good to pick up. And then I do want to get back to what Kat was asking about, because you know how much I love improvement.
Yeah, definitely. And I feel like, too, like when we're talking about the singles pickup, I think it extends more than just the Journey Together set, because a lot of new archetypes are changing, so you're going to kind of need different cards now.
Yes.
I know, like I've been trying to get stuff, too. So, like, recently I've been picking up the Paldea Evolve Dunsparce. It's 70 HP, 1 retreat cost.
Yes.
So I got a play set of those now. The Obsidian Flames Scizor.
Yes.
That kind of works like the Dunsparce EX.
And the free retreat Scyther.
Yeah,
I believe that comes out of that set.
No, it's from 151.
Oh, that's 151. Perfect.
Yeah, so I was able to get like a 1/1 line of that. And there's also a pretty version of the Scyther, of the Scizor, if any people like high rarity.
Beautiful.
Yeah, it's a really cool card. So that's also a stable to try to get. Ace packs are always good to get. Those are pretty cheap too, so you can get like Unfair Stamp. What are some of the other staple?
So you won 3.
Sparkling Crystal.
You get to stay.
Yeah. I tapped out. That game really made my head hurt.
Okay, that's reasonable. So we're fall stopped in, said he is
Yeah.
tapping out, and that's fine. So, and Adam, thank you very much. We
Yeah.
love the merch here.
Yeah, I know. I get to wear Dan's Nerd Rage Gaming hoodie here. And I think it's kind of crazy too that, Pokemon player Ian Robb was able to get one of these before Kevin
That
and
is,
I.
listen, I have been trying. I have been trying my best to make that
I
happen.
just think it's so
I do
funny.
not have responsibility
I
there.
think that's so funny to mention though,
It
because it's like
is.
it's for a completely different game.
100%. So
Shout out Ian Robb.
for those who didn't know, Ian Robb has been playing Magic on the Pro Tour, and he actually
Yeah.
was sponsored by Nerd Rage Gaming on the Magic side of things.
Yeah,
So
which is super cool to see like a Pokemon player doing it on a completely different card game.
yes,
And he's also like really good at it too. So
yes, and
super
he
cool to see.
recently top aided 2 major events for
think
Magic,
so,
I
something
believe.
like
So
that. Yeah.
wild. But yeah, so
Yeah.
and it's a really good point. It's not just the cards coming out of Journey Together. There's a ton
Yes.
of them. So you saw the Binding Mochi, huge card,
Yeah.
probably going to be more prevalent as a damage modifier.
Yeah, definitely. If you're trying to play the Terra box, especially, you're gonna need, a bunch of the Ogre Pawns, so like the Teal Mask, the Wellspring Mask. Sparkling Crystal is really good. You'll need the Pikachu EX from Surging Sparks.
Yes.
So yeah.
Which, by the way, I have
yeah.
a secret art one of that if anyone is
Oh.
interested in it. But no, so
Yeah.
that's a great one to have. We saw the
Jacques is a big one too that Sean mentioned here.
Jacques is actually a huge
Yeah.
one. Ogre Mask, that's actually so
Dude,
someone posted about that recently.
Adam has been the biggest supporter of the Ogre's Mask.
So-
He really wants that card to work.
I will actually say in Terra Box, if Walls does become a major issue, I actually think a one-of could be worth it.
Yeah.
All right, and so we are about to see, Goldengo versus Feraligatr because we give the people what they ask for.
Yes.
And so we see starting off, we have Goldengo. And Brian, same question. You want to talk Feraligatr or you want to talk Goldengo?
I'll talk Goldengo.
All
just
right,
'cause
so what's
it's
going
been
on here?
something I've been playing on the ladder a lot. So the way that I've been explaining this to a lot of my friends that are kind of like learning how to play the game is think of it kind of like Chen Pao, but it's the energies leaving your hand instead of the board.
Yes, that is a
So,
very good way to look at it,
it's
actually.
it's just a deck that's able to hit big numbers real quickly. It draws a lot of cards, and it's a very self-sufficient Pokemon because the attacker is also the draw support, which is really nice with that coin bonus ability.
Well, and I think
Yeah.
that's the cool part. It's the upside and the downside. The upside is that your attacker is your draw engine, which means
Yes.
you're way more efficient from a deck space
Yes.
perspective,
Yeah.
which is good because you need a ton of like recovery cards.
Yes.
The downside is every time one of your attackers gets knocked out, you
also-
lose your draw engine.
Definitely. And another thing too is that one thing that this deck has been trying to figure out a way is how to like uptrade against single prizers. And it used to when playing stuff like Palkia on Radiant Greninja, but now it's a little bit harder to. People are trying stuff like the Scizor. Hopefully, like the Dunsparce EX can kind of help uptrade in different ways. But yeah, it kind of struggles into single prizers a little bit. But other than that, this thing takes really good matchups into a lot of the really tall decks like the Dragapults, the Charizards, all of that.
I agree. And it's
Yeah.
a really, really fun deck to play too
Yeah,
because it just goes boom.
I know it is really fun to play. Yeah, that's definitely one of those decks too that rewards really good sequencing. Like
Yes.
if you're somebody that is able to sequence out their turns like most effectively, you'll be rewarded very nicely with this deck.
And so we
Yes.
see Ryan on the Feraligatr, and though playing that Iono, we have the TM Evo down, we have energy. All he's looking for is a Buddy Poffin to get a
Yes.
couple Totodile out and get it up into those Crocodiles.
Yes.
And so for this deck, and we see an Artisan at least, so we're going to
Yeah.
get something. For this deck is kind of a control deck almost.
Yeah, it's kind of weird because it's like both like a single prize deck that can kind of trade up into a lot of these higher prize like Pokemon because the Feraligatr ability is able to put 50 damage onto itself and swing like upwards of 280.
Correct.
But also you do have those control aspects by like having those walling Pokemon kind of like the Milotic EX.
Well, and the other
Yeah.
big piece of this is that I believe it's Crocodile's attack. No,
Oh,
it is
yeah.
Totodile's attack
Big bite.
allows you to retreat lock your opponent. And
Yeah.
again, we saw it early with Saab trying to buy a couple turns. What this deck can do is retreat lock with Totodile, continuously put energy on Feraligatrs on your bench, and then use
Yeah.
multiple Monkey Dory to continue to shift damage to your opponent's board. So ideally, locking your opponent, and then also being able to win by taking prizes rather than just relying on deck out or something
Yeah,
like that.
definitely. And Eli actually has a pretty decent setup going into this turn. He drew into a Dunsparce. He also was able to draw into the Goldengo EX as well, so he's going to be drawing a lot of cards this turn.
And that's a huge deal because especially even under item lock, being able to like fill your hand, see more cards, and then ideally use something like Cypher Maniac's code breaking to get out a bigger bench to start to be able to attack. But I think one thing we really got to know, Brian, is we talked about the retreat locking by Brian.
Yeah.
Eli does have to be careful how many things he puts down, or he could be at risk of getting stalled out or kind of controlled out of the game.
Definitely. That's definitely something to worry about as well. Nice thing though for Eli's side is that whenever he's ready to attack, he's like always got something like ready.
Yes.
Yeah.
Agreed. All right, so we see the Dun. Do you think you use it here or just use the one energy to knock out the Dunsparce? Or the Budu?
I would use the runaway draw first, see what you draw into, and then if you need to, you can always coin bonus right after as well, unless you used it already.
I don't think he has. And also, Eli found a gimme ghoul off of that, which is huge.
Which is really nice too. Get another attacker kind of ready. And that's the other nice thing. One metal energy is all you need in order to power up this Goldengo EX.
It is, which is really nice. And I think, yes, we were about to coin bonus.
Coin bonus.
And I
draw
think
two.
Eli was hoping to find something like Cypher Maniac code breaking, so that way he could use it to coin bonus.
Yes.
But to be honest, being able to just take a knockout here is fine.
Interesting, going for the attachment on the Monkey Dory here.
And I actually love that. But what do you think, Brian?
I like it too, just because you get it's kind of like the slow down the play for Eli. He doesn't really need to be going for these knockouts right away. More so, he's trying to get a safe board state.
And I think that's a big deal. The other thing to note is, like we talked about, Ryan wants to pull up something that's not a threat and keep it stuck up there.
Yeah.
With that psychic energy on the Monkey Dory can attack.
Yeah, Monkey Dory can attack, which is huge here. And I think the decision too, just to go with the 3 Goldengos that are going to be in the board here, is a good idea, and not going to like that 4/4 because there's only I think 3 metal energy that are being played in the deck. So not going that full way is also a good habit to have.
Agreed. And the other advantage putting that monkey down has is now you can hit into Mimikyu. And Mimikyu is no longer a pure wall for you. So now Ryan, on the other end, is going to have a bit of difficulty trying to set up here because we got the draw supporters, but our board kind of sucks, to be honest.
Yeah, definitely. There's not really much he's working with here.
A Donnie Trumpet, I don't think so. Or so we do see a Melodic, which is not too helpful. We do see a Dark Energy, which can be helpful on that Monkey Dory.
Yeah.
But I don't think we see an out to a Croconaw or for Alligator yet. Or, we do have a counter catcher, actually.
Yeah, there's a counter catcher. This deck is really heavy on the counter catchers, which I've seen.
Which makes sense.
Yeah.
And we do actually have a rescue board, too. So we will be able to go into Totodile, just we don't have another Totodile.
Yes.
So then, what is Ryan's line here?
The first step here was putting the Mimikyu up, which is good because it's that wall to kind of give Ryan time to set up. I think he's trying to get the Monkey Dory set up as well because I think Eli's going to try to go for attack with the Monkey Dory eventually, and then try to move some damage in order to get that knockout clean. But being able to put the Dark Energy on the Monkey Dory will allow that damage to start moving around.
I think that makes sense. And also, by leaving the Mimikyu in the active, it forces Eli to either gust or to go into Monkey Dory or something else.
Yeah, and it's funny. I think that it's funny because I think Ryan is actually experienced with playing this deck. I actually played against him. He played for Alligator against me at a league challenge like a year ago.
That is incredible.
Yeah.
I love it. This is very much a Ryan style of deck too, with like it can be aggressive, it can be control-y, it just does weird stuff.
Yeah.
And we see Ryan kind of deciding, do we want to use this counter catcher to start?
Yes.
And I actually love that decision. What do you think?
I do too. And it just shows that, never punished, right?
I mean, that's pretty good.
That's
okay. Yeah. So we had a couple options. That's fine.
Yeah. It just shows too that they're kind of options to do. I just hope that Eli doesn't put down another gimme ghoul here.
I don't think he
Oh,
will.
good.
But
Get some.
the thing I actually love this for is Ryan is forcing Eli to spread out his metal energy.
Yes, and that's kind of like why we were keeping it at 3, is because that's the max amount of attackers that we can kind of have.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
then if Ryan does force Eli to gust around here and then forces him to attach a metal energy to each of his Goldengos, suddenly it's going to be really, really hard for Eli to attack. We're going to limit the energy
Yeah.
available. Eventually, we're going to Budu. Like, it's going to be tough here.
Yep.
And Ryan is probably looking up the deck list that he is playing to make sure he knows what all is in it. And he's also probably checking out the number of energy Eli has available. And so I don't know if you've seen this, Brian, but decking out your opponent by item locking once you're out of energy is a serious win condition.
Yeah, definitely. He drew into boss, which is really huge here too.
And Cypher Maniac, but to be honest, boss is definitely the more exciting one.
Oh yeah, definitely.
So do you go for the Totodile?
I think you go for the Monkey Dory here, but I think both are like correct plays.
I agree. I think both
Yeah.
are fine. I think what I would want to see, though, from Ryan now is to start to figure out who he's going to lock to close out the game.
Yes.
And so the disadvantage Ryan has is Eli's draw engine just goes straight back into the deck.
It's funny too because it looks like he has 2 decks now because of how big his hand is.
Yes, this is absolutely true.
Yeah.
Like Goldengo has the coin bonus ability that if it's in the active, draw 2 once a turn. If it's on the bench, draw 1. So that's 4 cards right now on top of supporters, on top of Dun Dun.
Yeah.
Like, dude, Eli's
Even if he
hand is
plays
just going to grow.
Fez too, if you play Fez, you can also draw more
Yes.
cards that way. So it's kind of crazy to think about.
So the flip side, though, is there is no way for Eli to shuffle cards back into his deck.
Yeah, no like recovery or anything like that.
Exactly. Now, he won't deck out because he is able to use Dun Dun, but we're still playing with fire.
Yes, definitely.
And so now for Ryan, I think is just trying to figure out how to set up another Totodile, another Croconaw, another Feraligatr. Just how do we get that kind of locking engine down in place? And so, Brian, what do you think Ryan tries to do here?
Definitely looking to get some extra attackers on. The trolley kind of helps with that. And then I want to see an energy, that luminous energy attached to the Monkey Dory as well, just for the confusion.
I don't mind that. And
yeah, I do like that play, to be honest.
So I would love to see actually him go into the Mimikyu for this.
Okay. Yeah.
Because go into Mimikyu, attach the Evo TM, evolve up your little Toto guy,
yeah.
and then now you're forcing Eli to again gust or and we use the luminous
definitely.
there. I actually don't mind that at all.
Definitely like it too.
So how do you think Eli gets around this?
He needs another gust.
Oh, that helps.
Yeah, that definitely helps too. And I think now he's looking for that Monkey Dory attack too.
Yes.
And this is going to be that clean knockout because he's able to move that 1 damage counter from the Goldengo on the bench to the Mimikyu and then swing 60 with the Mind Bend.
And so that's actually a huge deal. Now, Dun Dun EX would also allow him to shred through the Mimikyu.
That's true, but it requires more energy.
It does. It
Yeah.
does. And so this is the downside of Ryan putting that damage counter on the Goldengo is it does enable Eli to do perfect math here, like you
Yes.
said. All right. And so we see the Cypher Maniac's code breaking.
Yep.
We see the coin bonus for
Coin
2
bonus.
to draw those 2 cards.
Ooh,
Okay.
double Dunsparce. He's gonna have a really big hand.
He is going to have a very big hand. And yes, Adam, Ogrebox did win its 1 round. Clefairy did not win its 1 round. Arch technically won a round against Slowking, but that was not what we'd call high-tier gameplay
yeah.
on both ends. Sorry, Roth and Kevin. But yeah, I don't even know how. Do we have a big winner so far?
No, because I don't think we've had any archetypes really repeat.
I agree. We've
Yeah.
been pretty spread out. So, Bryce, did we already have a poll? Start another poll. So let's also see what the
Yeah.
next round's going to be because I know we got time for at least a couple more games
Yeah,
here.
definitely.
So with Ryan having Mimikyu go down, there's now an attacker in the active that can start to do some damage. What do you think he tries to do?
Let's see what this research grabs first, and we can kind of see what direction we want to go to right after. So the reverse thrust is available now.
It is.
Yeah, and that could end up moving into something like the Mimikyu or
The tough
yeah.
thing here, though, is if Ryan is not doing knockout damage, Eli is going to be able to put 30 of it back onto Ryan's board.
Yeah.
And it's going to make it harder and harder for Ryan to get ahead. And so I'm honestly thinking, guys, and I'm curious what you think in the chat, like, we could be seeing Monkey finding its way into a lot of decks in this next format.
Yeah, definitely. It's just such an easy like slot in Pokemon to put in. I mean, from the moment we saw it in Gardevoir, I think that's like kind of like when we knew that it was going to be like super popular.
Which, to be fair, it makes sense in Gardevoir because you're placing damage,
Yeah.
but I don't think it was applied too much as a defensive part of decks until Dragapult started to be more popular.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, that's how it's so like useful for is like it's able for that offensive use like that Dragapult uses it for, and then the defensive use that Gardevoir kind of uses it for.
Agreed.
Yeah.
And I would even think defensive against Dragapult. And
Yeah.
we have now 3 monkeys on the board
Yeah, this is
for
looking like it's
Ryan.
looking like a Gardevoir board right
This
here.
is absolutely looking like a God of War
Yes.
board right now.
Yeah.
And now, what is Ryan's game plan, though? Because Eli, I think, has done a brilliant job setting up his board, so it's very, very hard for Ryan to take advantage.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a counter catcher play, try to move to something.
Adam, yes,
Yeah.
many monkeys are jumping on the bed.
Yes. And I think as soon as so the Feraligatr is going to put damage on itself, monkeys are going to start moving the damage.
Yes.
That's going to be like kind of like the idea. And if Ryan's able to get a gust onto one of those Goldengos, or ideally the one with no energy, then it can kind of go from there. But looks like we're just getting a reverse thrust, probably.
I would imagine, and
Or a big bite.
I think we probably. Oh, actually, Big Bite may be the move here.
Yeah, big bite's not a bad idea.
Because Eli's going to be able to do 60 damage, but
60
that's
damage,
it.
big bite.
And at that point, we're going to start moving damage off of this Feraligatr pretty rapidly.
Yeah, and the nice thing too is you can put the Lux Cape on there too, and it pretty much is. It's going to be really hard to take it out.
Yes.
It's going to be a 281 prizer, HP 1 prizer.
Which is insane. And a 280 HP 1 prizer that can do 280 damage.
Yeah.
And I think Ryan and Eli are just doing some math here to figure out what's the right line.
Yeah.
Also, in games, and I'll go yell at them in a moment for this, always feel free to ask your opponent to increase their pace of play. Because we want to make sure that we move through the games.
Yeah, we definitely want to. I mean, for this, is just testing. It's just casual, but like, ooh, looks like we get the big bite here.
Yes, and so that is going to lock the Monkey Dory in the active. And Eli, I believe, does play Professor Turo, but that's going to be his only way to get this thing out of the active.
Yeah, and it's going to be kind of tough, too, to use the Turo when you've already committed 2 energy attachments onto this. So you're going to be losing both of those energies as well as that one of supporter.
And which, to be fair, we do have plenty of superiors and everything to go
Yes.
get it back, but it's still not a ton.
Yeah, and it's tough too because I feel like against a deck like this, where you're pretty much trading into 1 prizers the entire game, I feel like you want to be a little bit more frugal with how you use your superior energy retrievals, because if you're just carelessly like burning through all of your resources, then you're not going to have enough to take those final important knockouts when they're trading up into you.
So, Brian, I didn't see a Turo in deck. Did you?
I did not.
So, I also didn't see a Turo in hand.
No.
So, we don't especially have a way to get this monkey out of the active.
Yeah, I'm not seeing it.
All right, so then here's the other tricky part is now this Feraligatr is confused.
Yes.
And with the confusion, there's no guarantee it is going to be able to retreat lock this Monkey Dory.
Yeah, and sometimes it might even be able to knock itself out. Well, not knock itself out, do damage to itself, which
Right.
is another important thing to think about.
It is. And so that damage done to itself does increase the damage output, and it also gives resources for Monkey Dory to take advantage of.
Yep, and I think he's eyeing that Arvin and then the counter catcher.
Which makes sense. And I
Yes.
think what he would want to do is go into a clean Totodile or something, or just try to lock up something from Eli's board in the
Yeah.
active. But there's 1 metal energy down, 2 in the discard. Wait.
Ooh, Lana's Aid here. I think this is going to grab another Totodile.
Wait, if there's 2 metal energy in the discard pile, 1 attached, and we have no access to Professor Turo, I don't know if Ryan sees it, But we have an opportunity to lock Eli out of the game here with that Budu.
Oh yeah, there's definitely a way.
But now the question is, does Ryan see it?
Yeah.
And I have no idea. I guess, Brian, what else is your line and out here for Ryan to win the game?
It's definitely just like placing those damage counters on the Feraligatr and just moving them around. You gust one of the Goldengos, and you sort of just like play the slow game from there.
And that makes complete sense. Just kind of force Eli to make decisions that are just tough in general. All right, so then we do see Ryan get the counter catcher and the luxurious cape. Like you said, cape adds 100 HP, but you take an extra prize when you take a knockout. We see the luminous energy.
Yep, going down, and they'll be able to activate the Adrena Brain.
Which is a great thing because now it lets Ryan start to apply more pressure. But I don't know what the line is here.
Yeah, I like the Budu idea that you kind of brought up.
And I think that may be the line here.
Yeah.
Because Ryan's just got to figure out a way to slow the game down since Eli has such a steep lead.
Yeah, and it's kind of tough here too because Ryan doesn't have a way to easily retreat out of this Feraligatr. Yeah, doesn't have an easy way to kind of retreat out of the Feraligatr, and that kind of takes away that Budu play, which is what gets a little tough here. Ooh. So he gets the tails here, takes some damage on himself, and now Eli's retreating out into this Goldengo, and I think he's going to try to get the knockout here.
Which, to be fair, is a pretty easy knockout. The thing does not have a ton of HP.
Oh, yeah, most definitely.
And so we move the Monkey Dory damage. We do have the Superior Energy Retrieval. And this is where Eli very, very intelligently snags another Metal Energy. So he will be able to attack if a Goldengo is gusted up.
Yeah, and I think he kind of caught a break here by getting that, getting the confusion damage done onto Ryan.
Yes.
Because it gave him an opportunity to where he was able to get the Superior Energy Retrieval to recover those Metal Energies. Now he's got clear attackers that he can kind of set up.
Absolutely. And so we do have an out to get another Totodile back. We have the Luxurious Cape. Eli being down to 2 prizes, that Luxurious Cape would be a big risk, here. But there is a line for Ryan if he sees it. I just don't know if I see it.
All right.
Yeah. And Ryan scoops it up saying, all right, Gator was not able to pull it off. And I mean, what do you think was the issue there, Brian?
I think it's just the setup. Early game setup, it wasn't really there. I mean, wasn't really able to see more than one Totodile until towards the end of the game, which is really important to have.
Yes.
The Monkey Dories were really good, and they definitely had some potential, but some sequencing mishaps kind of didn't allow Ryan to get where he really wanted to, which was kind of like that item lock win con that we were kind of talking about.
And I think it was a good example because Ryan is an incredibly good player and does handle very complicated decks very, very well.
Yes.
But for decks that have that many kinds of lines and win conditions, it's very tough to pick the right one at the right time because if you pick the wrong one on turn 2, you may not realize you lose until like turn 7.
Yeah. Yeah. You're good.
You're totally fine. Totally fine.
Do you want to see maybe give us a slight break? Maybe let's get some of the players in, see what they've been liking so far, and we can swap out one after the other.
I think
so
it's
we
a
can,
great
so
idea.
we can use the bathroom.
Yeah. So why don't we do this? If you want to jump out, grab Eli because he
I'll
just
grab
won
Eli
there.
real quick, and then afterwards we can swap and we can grab like Ryan or Kevin.
Actually, that's a lie. Don't grab Eli. Grab Kevin.
Yes.
Because I want to hear about
the Slow King game.
Slow King game.
All right.
Yes.
I'll be right back.
Thank you very much, Brian. So Brian is going to bounce out to grab Kevin, bring him over here so we can talk about Slow King while they get the next round set up. And so we already did see we're going to play Terror Box, correct? And what are we playing against? Oh, actually, if they're getting started, Ryan, how about you hop in here and chat for a little bit? So we are figuring out some technical difficulties on our end. But honestly, I also wanted to say thank you all for coming out. It's great to have the chat going for this. And Bryce, can you throw up the slide about the cup? So one thing while we are getting set up, I want to talk about is we have a very big weekend coming up. We have our $1,000 League Cup on Sunday. This is combined with another cup from Sully's Abode, also a local store, and they have a $1,000 store credit pricing while we have $1,000 cash. So we, I believe, have, hold on, I got to check how many slots. As of about 40 minutes ago, we had a total of 4 slots remaining for our cup.
Yeah, giddy up.
Yes. So I am checking to see how many more we have remaining.
Updated status coming in.
Yes, absolutely. So, Ryan, while I am using my wonderful Google skills, what the heck happened in that game, man?
I mean, I thought there was a position where when Eli had 2 metal energy in the discard pile, 1 metal energy on a Goldango, that I could start Badu locking him out of metal energy.
So, yes.
But he could also he had enough energy in deck to just like hard retreat. So I would gust 1. The deck plays 4 metal right now, so I would gust 1. He would attach and kill it. I would have to get my Badu back, gust the other one, but like he has enough energy to just hard retreat and then knock it out again.
And that makes sense. He had enough energy in hand and in deck where it wasn't going to be catastrophic.
I don't know. It's really tough because, like, I think the game plan in that matchup needs to be hit and run, but I only got 1 Totodile down early, and then I got killed, and then I trolleyed, and my other Totodile was prized, so I can only get 1 again. It was like, man. I don't know. The Feraligatr deck is really, really good and has really strong game plans on paper. By God, is the deck a pile.
And I absolutely believe that. All right, so before we get to the next game, just want to note we have exactly 3 master slots open for the cup on Sunday for our $1,000 cup. And to be clear, there is a special grand prize as well
that
we have for everyone. We, again, have tried to listen to the other games around us to make sure that our prizing can include some of the incredible opportunities that they provide.
Yes.
So
if you're local, don't miss it. Come on out. You want a chance at it.
You want to come see it. And hey, 3 more of you can come register for it. We will also have a couple spots open if juniors and seniors don't register. Those will come open on Saturday. But after that, that's it.
Yep.
We're not going to have walk-ins or anything. So we are going to jump into this next round. Bryce, are we set up? Maybe. Yes. No. We're still working on it. And we are set up and good. Beautiful. So for this round, we will have Terrabox and Arch Dundun. So I'm going to hand it to Brian to kind of get us started here, and then I'll jump in if you guys can just chat a bit.
Oh, yeah, that's fine. That works.
Perfect. So, Ryan, start us off. Like, what's happening here?
Kevin is going first on the Terrabox by the looks of it. Hi, Brian.
Hey, how are you?
So this matchup is pretty good for the Terrabox, I believe. It's kind of awkward as long. So the thing that I found in the matchup is it's really awkward in the early game for Terrabox, where in the mid game you have a lot of great options. You can Pikachu their Archaladon. Yes. They don't have a great answer to the Pikachu. And in the late game, you can like Blood Moon, one of the 2 prizes they have on the bench. But in the early game, it's like, man, what am I doing? Water Pond doesn't do anything.
I know, and it sucks too because on the Arch side, you see a bunch of 2 prizers there.
Yeah.
And it's just like gusting food.
Yeah.
So tough there.
The thing that Kevin, I believe, is in Kevin's list that he's playing is that Cornerstone Ogre Pond.
Yes.
Which is really good in the early game. It knocks out the Duraludons, and the Archaladon can't kill it.
Yes.
So you just can kind of shove that up and try to take 2 prizes with it, and then in your late game go like Pikachu, Blood Moon, or something, depending on what is all in the list. This is a deck that Kevin brought, so I don't exactly know the counts.
Yeah.
But I'm sure it's mostly
it's probably like the Tord
stuff.
List. They're probably something similar to that.
But we're seeing the fan call come through to Hoot Hoot, and a Noctowl sounds good to me. As long as we have an out to a Terra Pokemon on the next turn, we should be good to go. There is not, though.
There's not much else you
I
can
wonder
do
if we could
here.
have seen like that Ditto get grabbed, retreat into the Ditto maybe.
Yeah.
Just to turn on our Noctowls and stuff. But
Yeah.
we will see.
There's definitely been a few instances where I've like fan called for Ditto and like get my Terra like into play that way.
Even if you like against Arts, like you can just shove the Cornerstone and they just have to like look at it kind of.
Yeah, definitely.
Because it takes a while. If they're playing the Hopzation EX, which is like the out to Cornerstone that's running around right now, it's like you still have to double Archalet on it. You have to get all those energy in the discard pile. So it takes some time.
Definitely.
But we'll see. Eli's Ultra Ball for a Duraludon coming down. I see a Research in the hand. We have to get rid of the Scoop Up Cyclone, but that's all right.
Yeah, it's all right. It's not the worst thing in the world. Ooh,
we're gonna
play the Scoop Up Cyclone here. Put the Force the 1 prizer into play.
Yeah, that's fine with me.
Yeah, I feel like it's not too bad just because like if you're really taking this knockout on the Duraludon, you gotta like take away a lot of good resources in order to take it out. So not the worst thing in the world.
Yeah. Eli debating putting that Fez back down, but looks like he's just going to ship it along with the
Yeah.
research.
I think it's not the worst thing in the world because you are able to just Night Stretcher it back
Yeah.
into play whenever needed.
Let's see what we got
Artisan.
coming down.
There we go.
We'll get the setup going. We do have 2 energy in the discard pile already, which is like the most difficult thing in the world. I
Yeah.
felt like playing this deck,
I
so
know.
that's a good checkpoint to hit.
I know it's funny that we've been bringing up like the quote that you've been saying. It's like it's like playing with Radiant Greninja
Dude,
prized every single
It has
game.
felt like that all the
Yeah.
time. It's really bad.
Yeah, and I mean the Arch games that we've had on stream so far tonight have not really been the highest of quality games. Just
Yeah.
because like
I mean that
yeah.
the poison build is a choice
Yeah.
for sure. I don't know how real that deck is, but it's fun.
Yeah.
This deck has a little more staying power with that it unspurs draw engine through,
Yeah.
so we'll see if we get more longevity out of
Yeah.
the Arch in this game. But we'll see what Kevin has. Did we draw anything?
Don't know. See what the Artisan will grab us here.
I just didn't see what the top deck was. The Ditto is in the deck, so we could have gone into that on turn
Yeah.
1. Just debating Fan Rotom Punch? That seems not great. It's okay.
I don't think Eli is on Rigid Band.
This list from that Eli's playing right now is like super straightforward and consistent. No text at all. Arctic, the icy guy. It's just arched it on sparse, just maxing out consistency cards, just trying to get the
Yeah.
deck to function.
Let's see what he's looking here.
I feel like Kevin's just like, I really want to know what he top decked. I wish I was paying attention.
Yeah.
But debating getting the second Fan Rotom, I feel like we just have to be going with Fan Rotom Punch, and man, does that not
Yeah, it doesn't
feel great.
Yeah. And yeah, I definitely agree, Adam, that we definitely should have done Ditto turn 1.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's kind of like muscle memory to kind of just like go like Fan Rotom, 2 Hoot Hoot, Noctowl. But
Yeah, I'm not sure how much of the Terror Box Kevin has played, but this is
Yeah.
definitely like
all I know is that Kevin's been playing on the other side of it because whenever I play games with him, that's the only thing I have
okay,
built,
okay.
so-
So he's seen it at least.
yeah.
The deck is very cool, but the
Yes.
deck is definitely one of the harder decks to
Oh
play
yeah,
in
absolutely.
the new format.
Yeah, there's a lot of moving pieces with it.
Anytime you have access to your entire deck, it could be overwhelming, as well
Yes.
as like you see 12 different options, you don't know which one is
Yeah,
the best.
Definitely.
But we're gonna start seeing the Arch swinging.
There we go. Assemble
There we
Alloy.
go.
Put those 2 energy on there.
We are going to start defending metal.
You say that so excited. Metal.
Yes.
Also, Ryan, I can kick you out whenever you are good.
I don't know. Whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
All right, then I'll kick you out.
Okay.
we can talk
Yeah.
about things.
Here,
Cool.
we'll slide this
And
down a
as
little
well,
bit.
Check my bracket too.
Yes.
Things are going.
How's it going over there?
Yeah.
I will tell you, most importantly, Purdue actually won a game today,
There we go.
which is thrilling. And we apparently were a popular upset pick because we suck. So
Yeah.
it was very exciting to see that happen.
First round reputation.
We
Yes.
do not have a great reputation.
I should be checking out mine in a little bit as well.
All right, perfect. So we did see our first turn 2 attack from
Yes.
Duraludon today, which is wonderful to see. And Kevin on Terra Box, honestly, I heard you guys talking a little bit. It looks like we just have a very slow setup with no Terra Pokemon to use that Noctowl with. So is there anything that Kevin has like missed an opportunity to get a Terra Pokemon, or just is this how life is today?
Yeah. Sorry, I haven't been focusing too much. I'm looking at my bracket here.
Well, you know what?
yeah.
Actually, let's take a quick break for that. Here's a
Yeah.
few of the big upsets so far today.
I got the
have-
Creighton one.
You got the Creighton.
I got the Creighton upset.
And see, I picked Louisville, but we have
yeah, I like Creighton a lot.
we have Drake currently beating Missouri.
Yeah, see, that's my thing. I'm a big Drake guy because my brother goes to Drake.
Oh.
And Drake is in the same conference as my alma mater, Bradley University. And they're always the top 2 schools in the Missouri Valley Conference, and it always goes down to that last game. Drake has gotten it the last few years. I think the last time Bradley's beaten them was like 2018 or something like that.
That's a long time.
Yeah.
So the big only like upsets are McNeese. Almost gave
Oh,
it up
they
to
almost
Clemson,
did
but
it?
pulled it off.
Oh man.
So McNeese beat Clemson, and then Arkansas
got that
beat
one.
Kansas,
Yeah, I
which
didn't
is
get
a big one.
the Kansas one. I think I had Kansas make it like Sweet 16 or like
It wasn't the move
yeah.
this year. But anyway, we still have a couple games tonight, so I'm going to get home and watch some basketball after this.
Yeah, I'm excited for it.
But all right, back to Pokemon. Like you said, Metal Defender is crazy. We have now had 2 attacks by Fan Rotom on a Arch Dualodon, and that is not the recipe to win this game for Kevin. So Arch may win 2 in a row, although to be honest, guys, for those watching, it doesn't have a lot to do with Arch. It seems to have had a lot more to do with the opponents.
Yeah, definitely. Got a lot of Dunsparces here.
We do, and we also saw a Turo pick up that Arch, put it back down, undo multiple turns, and this thing is right back ready to attack again.
Yeah.
So Eli applying a ton of pressure, Kevin just kind of trying to make something happen.
Yeah, it's definitely not working out too far, and a big part of that is because he hasn't pulled into that Terra Pokemon yet.
Yes.
And that's the biggest part about this deck is because those Noctowls don't function without the Terra Pokemon. And it's also tough too because the Artisan can't search for the Terra Pokemon.
And that's the rough part. He hasn't found a single search out, except for I saw someone saying skipping putting the Ditto down to get that Terra out. Now, Grant, did Kevin go second here?
No, he went first, I think.
Ooh, so that is also sketchy then because you had an opportunity to get a Terra down without it getting knocked out.
Yeah.
But now we get to Pheasantipity, see if we hit it. That's not it. Ah, we do see a Teal Mask Ogerpon.
There we go. That kind of opens up things here.
It does. We're going to be able to play the game, just...
Or there's an Octal in hand.
There is... we may see a knockout here.
Potentially.
Because we have the Crispin. We have Knockdown. We need...
Pikachu.
A Nest Ball for Latias, an out to Pikachu, Crispin, and then the Sparkling Crystal.
And he needs Area 0.
He does. He has a Sparkling Crystal and a Crispin in hand, though. So we're in a position where we could actually pull off this one-shot of the bridge.
Yeah, definitely.
So does that get him back into the game?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Just because now he's going to be matching the prizes, and also this Pikachu won't be able to get one-shotted.
Agreed. And so now, do we have another out to another Noctowl?
Ooh, that's tough. That's the tough part.
Because we need 2 pieces out of the deck.
Yeah.
Pikachu and Latias.
Yeah.
Unless we have a Grass Energy in hand, in which case we can draw. Interesting. So Arctic just saying that Rowan Stavinaugh, incredible player, also a nice dude, has said that his Arch list doesn't have Relicanth or Squawk. And I don't know about Relicanth, but Squawk sure seems good.
Yeah, definitely. I also think Squawk is good just because it kind of helps with that turn 1 consistency, which is definitely important here.
Okay, so we are actually gaming. So we have the Grass Energy. We have E-Switch available. Ooh, I think we have the attack.
Yeah, I think we're getting really close to it. Oh,
and we have the Nest Ball.
The Nest Ball gets the Latias.
We have it. We are gaming.
Yeah.
And suddenly Kevin goes from completely out of it to right back in the game
and
here.
That just shows how powerful Pheasantipity as a card is because that draw 3 pretty much got him this entire turn.
100%.
Yeah.
And so now we're going to be able to use a Crispin in hand, assuming there's a Lightning and a Metal in there.
Yes.
Go in, get those 2 energy. Wow.
Yeah.
This is wild. So we just need at least Lightning or Metal. We have lightning. Okay.
Lightning Grass. Okay, that's fine.
Totally fine because we have the Sparkling Crystal in hand that can be that 3rd energy. So now Eli's going to be in a spot to try to have to respond to this Pika.
Yeah, it's going to be a little tough too.
So what? I guess let's just see Kevin pull this off because we just got to sequence it correctly. So you see Sparkling Crystal. Nope, you can't attach those. We actually don't have the Crispin yet. I thought we had a Crispin. We have a bear. So all of my excitement and hype was based on having... Oh, there is a Crispin. Never mind. We're good. Okay. And then we will knock out that Duraludon using Crispin. The 2 prizes go to Kevin. We have a Grass Energy on a Teal Mask Ogerpon.
Yeah, you can play the E-Switch there.
We can get rid of a Noctowl and the damaged Hoot Hoot. I mean, Kevin's still in a great spot, man.
Yeah, definitely.
And so now we'll see what Eli draws. We do find the Night Stretcher, so we will have the Arch. Does this list play the Vengeful Punch?
That I don't know.
So that is something we mentioned and talked about before about having an out to get through this Terrestrial Pika,
Yeah.
because Pika has the ability that says if you one-shot it, it doesn't die.
Yeah, it doesn't die. And Adam kind of cooking with this too. Kev has Stretcher for Noctowl.
He does. And that's actually a big thing to recognize when you're playing against decks that use Area Zero Underdepths. Them discarding Noctowl means there's more outs available for them to get one back down.
Yeah.
And it's also something good to keep in mind when with Night Stretcher as an out, it is okay if you research away a Noctowl, something like that, because it opens up more opportunities for you to get that search later in the game.
Yeah, definitely.
And speaking of search, actually not even search, just draw, Eli's going to get a whole lot of dun-duns down here.
Yeah, definitely.
So then what is Eli's game plan here outside of just attacking with Arch?
Yeah, definitely just like being able to draw more pieces like Gust. I think if he plays something like, oh, he's not going for it.
Interesting.
So he's trying to keep his board free of 2 prizers right now so that it forces Kevin to take a knockout on a 1 prizer.
So, but here's the thing. We can water pawn.
We can water pun, yes.
And so that obviously won't help us take 2 prizes, but it can set something up for a knockout at another date. This is actually
Yeah,
tough. And I think
This
it's
is
a
tough.
really good move by Eli to say, hey, I'm not going to let you take 2 this turn.
Yeah, and I think a big part of that is kind of like what Goldengo really likes doing, is that it's able to set up a turn 1 full of 1 prizers to avoid that 2-2-2 prize spread.
Yes, absolutely. And that's a huge deal because I'll say this time and time again. You have to map out your own prize map. You have
Yes.
to line up how you're going to win the game, but you're going to win way more once you start mapping out your opponent's prize map too.
Yes, when you force your opponent to take unfavorable prizes, that's also a way to kind of slow down the game and put it back into your favor.
100%.
Yeah.
So one option though Kevin does have here is we could go into Bear. And if we're able to find an Area Zero Underdepths, then we would be able to go into the Bear, use an E-Switch, another E-Switch, and attach, knock out the Duraludon, and do it with a Pokemon that Eli can't one-shot himself.
Yeah, I think it's got what, 260?
260.
So it can knock out with Black Belt only, right?
Correct. With Black Belt or
Yeah.
with Vengeful Punch, like
Yeah.
hitting back into it. But
Kinda
yeah,
asking for a lot here.
we are.
Yeah.
And for Kevin, I think this is big. And unfortunately for Kevin, Crispin can't really be played here because
Yeah.
there's not 2 types of energy in the deck.
Yeah, the energies are kind of a little low here, and you're using all these E-switches just to commit for this attack here, which is kind of tough.
And so does this Terra Box play Super Rod?
No, I think it just plays Stretcher.
So then that's tough too, because once the energy makes its way into Kevin's hand, it's stuck there.
Yes. And that was one of the problems that I kind of had, is I had the opposite problem. I've had a hard time getting them into the discard pile to where I can pick them out with like the Night Stretchers.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which Pika obviously tries to help with that by discarding them, but
Yes.
still,
Yes.
that requires the Crispin attachment to get it set up.
Yes. And that's kind of like a good reason why like the Water Pond and the Crispin kind of synergize so well, is that as soon as the attachments happen, it shuffles it back into the deck, allowing you to do it again.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And so now for Eli, I think Eli's trying to see how can I gust and take 2 prizes here, ideally on that Pikachu.
Yeah.
Because Pika's really the problem here for him.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, and so we do have a Pokegear in hand. Doesn't look like we have any other ways to thin things out.
Okay, there's the attachment. Probably going to play that. Ooh, I wonder if we're going to go for the Dunsparce first and then the gear.
So what do you think is the correct sequence here?
Part of me doesn't think. Oh, I mean.
Oh,
you
well, that
do-
was correct.
Yeah, never mind.
All right, well, we know what was right. It was whatever Eli did.
yeah. Whatever got him all those cards he needed.
So I would say if
It's
the deck
tough.
if the deck is already randomized, Dun Dun is better because
Yeah.
it gives you 3 raw cards and then you dig 7
Yes.
rather than digging 7 and then adding 3 raw.
Yeah.
And so we have the boss, we have the Arch. What do you think we take out? Is it Pika?
I think
or-
you take out Pika here. Pika's the biggest threat, and it's like the Ursaluna's not able to take a knockout on the Archaludon anyways, and that's the big thing.
So that's very fair. I
Yeah.
think I wouldn't mind Pika and I wouldn't mind Fez. Because the
Yeah.
one thing Kevin showed with that Earthen Vessel is he only took 1 energy out of the deck.
Yeah.
So either he is intentionally saving more in there, or he has decided I'm going to hold off and or I'm out of energy.
Yeah.
Okay, so now I think Eli drew black belt.
Yeah, he drew Black Belt and he also drew Night Stretcher. So I think he's looking to maybe get another Archaludon in play by getting the Night Stretcher up,
Which makes
assemble
sense,
Alloy, so he
because
doesn't have to
now,
worry
even
about
if
it.
Kevin goes into Pikachu, he's not going to be able to survive
Yeah,
a
so
turn.
he's instead of going for the boss play, he's actually going for the Black Belt play to take the knockout on the Ursaluna.
And I love that decision.
Yeah,
I don't know about
definitely.
you.
Yeah, I like it too, just because I mean, either way, there's no way that Kev's going to be able to take this 30 damage off of the Pikachu. So it kind of gives him a prize map already. Like he kind of has like the win kind of in front of him, which is kind of important here.
It is. And so normally I would say the out for Kevin actually is that saw block on the Pheasantipity.
Yeah.
But Eli has a bunch of energy available, and the deck still plays multiple Turo.
Yeah, definitely.
So Eli's going to have an out to get out of it. But for Kevin, what's his win condition here outside of that?
Yeah, I don't really see anything here just because he does have that second Duraludon. Unless he can find a way to maybe like disrupt to 2 and then maybe Pikachu attack.
And that could be it.
That could be it, possibly. Um, a counter catcher play is not the worst thing in the world, too.
The only issue
Yeah.
is Pikachu will not survive a hit.
Yeah.
And I think Kevin's going to be kind of reliant on that happening, because if he takes a knockout,
Yeah, good.
then he's going to open
Yeah,
up
he's
a
looking at
clear
Iono
active.
here. Looking at Iono. This might be like a counter catcher Iono play.
It may be, but I'm just wondering to what end.
Yeah.
That is a lie. Ignore everything I've said. I know to what end.
You see the vision?
I see the vision.
Yeah.
The vision is reliant on Eli not seeing the vision,
Oh.
because there are baby Duns on the bench.
Yes.
And so we can saw block that Pheasantipity a couple times. It will enable us to go through and take 3 prizes. Or, counterpoint, you just throw a big old bro into the active and say, you can't hit this cornerstone.
Yeah, I think that's the kind of thing he's looking at now.
And I will say, though, with that Iono, the good part is the energy is going to be back in the deck for Crispin.
Yes.
All right, so then I assume we attach the fighting to the cornerstone, yes?
I would think so too. Oh.
So
Saw block.
Kevin sees the vision.
Yeah, we're looking at the saw block.
All right, so then this is exactly what I was talking about. I think this may be the only line, because it's going to be reliant on Eli not hitting it.
Yeah.
And we've got Crispin, so there is an opportunity.
Yeah. Go a little sob here.
Do we
Do
hit?
we hit? We do not. And at this point, I'm kind of wondering if Eli kind of looks for like the Dunsparce, tries to use that as a way to kind of draw out of it.
So honestly, the thing I'd like to see from Eli is to just play that Iono.
Yeah.
You don't have to draw out of it this turn.
Yeah, that's true.
Like, set up your hand, give yourself more of an opportunity, and then go for the big play later on.
Yeah.
All right, so we see Nest Ball come down.
Grabbing the Dunsparce.
And so what this tells me is that Eli doesn't see the vision. And
Yeah.
Only Game Show, awesome to have you here. Hello, hello. All right, so now we have a line for Kevin. And do you think Eli sees it?
I don't see it. I don't think he sees it.
So
Yeah.
the good thing for Eli is that he has 5 more turns to see it.
Yes.
And dude,
Oh, excited for the cup. You coming out or you watching? It's exciting.
We'll see the
Yeah.
done. And yeah, game, it'd be awesome to have you out. Like we said, I don't know if you heard, there are exactly 3 master spots left for the cup. We will not have any walk-ins on Sunday pending. Awesome.
Oh,
Glad to have you. If
driving
we
up.
haven't
Yeah.
registered, register.
Yeah.
But we will have some junior and senior. Oh, good man. Or good woman, excuse me. But we will have junior or senior slots if they're extra open up on Saturday. But after that, that's it.
Yeah,
And
that's
that's
it.
all we're going to have.
Yeah. So we're expecting a full house, so it's gonna be a good time.
I think Zeke was saying 70 plus. Something
Wow.
like that. So it's going to be a good time.
Yeah.
All right. And then so now we see Eli kind of drawing, setting up his board, and then just passing it back over to Kevin. And why are we using Noctowl here? Are we trying to Crispin?
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't actually. I guess to me, I just want to keep sobbing.
Yeah, I think Sob is the way to go here.
Because is there anything else you see here, Brian?
No, not that I see.
The only thing I would want to see maybe is another Iono. Because now Eli has gotten all the Dun-Duns out. Okay, so we have another one. All right.
Okay, get
So
the attachment to the Fez.
We do. I see maybe we're going for the snipe play, which is not unreasonable.
Yeah.
We see the Dun-Dun draw.
Ah, there's
and
the Turo.
we see the
He sees
Turo.
the vision.
And the vision has been ended. So
Yep.
we do see Terrabox go down to bridge. And then, Bryce, did we do a poll for the last one? Can you just throw up the decks? Because then I'm going to pick what we play. Because I get to.
Yeah.
I'm sitting here. So, Brian, I don't know about you, but I think I would love to see. Do we want to see walls? I don't know. We haven't.
Yeah.
That is true.
We're figuring.
We're going to do one more game. What do you think would be cool?
We haven't seen Dragapult at all.
Why don't we do
Yeah.
Dragapults into... Is Flareon weird?
I don't know.
Oh, no, that'll probably get cooked. That's not good numbers. Why don't we
do
do Dragapult into...
you see Dragapult and Terrabox?
No,
No.
because that's... I would say Dragapult into Slowking. Is that...
No, that's an auto win for Slowking.
Is it
Slowking
really?
Slowking will
Oh,
just... Yeah.
Just kidding. All right, so how about we do
I
Dragapult...
think the Flareon is fine.
Let's do Dragapult into
They
Flareon.
have, like Clefairy plus Sylveon and stuff. That,
Yeah.
like,
Okay.
gets interesting.
Yeah,
Let's do it.
that.
All right. So what we are going to see for our very last round... Bearded, yeah, I missed you.
Yeah.
Bolt would be cool. We saw it earlier. But we are going to see Dragapult EX with Dusknoir versus Flareon EX. And Bryce, can you throw up the Flareon one to start?
Yeah, let's see what that one is.
Awesome. And so this is going to be our last game. It has been awesome hanging out with you guys.
Yeah.
We want to get a round out, but then also I have a baby I need to go home to.
Yes. I also work tomorrow night, too.
That is important, yes. All right, so I'll talk about this one if you want to talk about Dragapult.
Yeah, for sure.
So Flareon EX, this is based around Eevee and EVGX. So Eevee can be into the, oh, good God, what were words? But when Eevee is in the active spot, even if it's your first turn or the first turn it's been played down, it can evolve. So you can put down a Flareon EX your first turn going second or first, and evolve it into that 270 HP Flareon that can do 130 damage for fire and one colorless. So that's so good because you can use your Sparkling Crystal with any energy to hit for 130 and accelerate 2 energy from your deck to one of your Pokemon. This is coupled with Sylveon EX, which has a kind of interesting first attack that does 160 and reduces the damage done by your opponent's active by 100. But the second attack is a cool one that for, I believe it's Psychic, Water, Lightning, says shuffle 2 of your opponent's bench Pokemon into your deck.
Yeah, it's crazy. I remember I played against that when I was playing Lugia, and somebody shuffled my Archeops into the
Ooh.
deck, bro.
That's not great.
Wild.
To be fair, you cannot use it on back-to-back turns.
Yes.
But this deck also includes Lily's Clefairy, which induces psychic weakness for dragons. UEX, Water Veil. What is it again?
Water. Oh, Wellspring.
Wellspring. Dang it. Wellspring, Ogerpon, and then just the Noctowl engine to set
Yeah.
up. So we've got Crispins, Ionos, we've got Briar to max stuff out, and then Black Belt's training with the 280 damage attack on Flareon lets it one-shot basically any EX.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, so then, Brian, can you talk us through Dragapult a little
Yeah,
bit?
so Dragapult doesn't really change going into the new format that
Nope.
much. Still has that same Dracloak engine, which is really solid draw support. You know, you recon directive, look at 2 cards, put one to the bottom, take the other into your hand. Takes advantage of Crispin, which is great for attaching energy. That Dusknoir line, which we saw a masterclass from Andrew Hedrick about how effective it can be used in certain matchups, which is really great. Spreads more damage on the board. The Badoo is really helpful in this matchup as well because you do like to play this deck a little bit slower, so the Badoo kind of helps to buy some turns so you don't get completely run over. The Hawlucha is a really cool pick too because
Yes.
putting 1 damage counter on 2 different Pokemon lets a lot of those 70 HP Pokemon get sniped with the Phantom Dive ability.
One note on that,
Yes.
if you are playing a deck that does not play Buddy Poffin but plays Noctowl, use the 80 HP Hoot Hoots.
Yes.
Keep going, Brian.
Yeah, the 80 HP Hoot Hoots, definitely. Yeah, Night Stretchers are really good. Rare Candy. Only plays 2 Rare Candy because ideally you only want to use the Rare Candies to accelerate to Dusk Noir.
Yes.
The XP share is really cool too because it allows you to keep your energies in play as well. Gets a little tough to keep them in play because you don't play the Sparkling Crystal, but you're playing Unfair Stamp instead. So yeah, a lot of cool tools with this deck. Still a really solid one. I don't really think it's going to be as popular as it was during this last format. Just because, with the no bench barrier thing, it kind of gets run over by certain
Well,
decks like the Terra Box and stuff like that. But
I'm actually going to
yeah,
disagree. I actually
yeah,
still think it'll be the most popular deck in the room
yeah,
because
for
it is
sure.
just that good. And Breaker,
Yeah,
Raging Bolt's still going to be solid going into this format. So you picked a good one to learn.
yeah, definitely.
And then Justin, I believe it did include Dun Dun EX as the shred attacker. And Bryce, we're good to go to the game?
Yep.
Beautiful.
Yeah, let's see
So
it.
we are starting off here. And Brian, I know you were talking about Dragapult, so continue that as Eli is starting since I
Yeah.
think, oh, well, he'll
Yeah.
be going second. Well, all right. So then I'll talk a little bit about the Flareon one. So we already mentioned it uses Eevee, Eevee EX, Flareon EX, and just tries to set up a very aggressive attacker. And going first, it can use that Fan Rotom to get out your Eevees as well, which is
Yeah.
a huge deal.
Definitely huge.
And so we will see Ryan get the Fan Rotom, get out an Eevee or two, and those 50 HP Eevees are very problematic into Dragapult if they're still on the board when Dragapult starts Phantom Diving. But if they get evolved up prior to that, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, and I think that's a really nice flexibility tool that you kind of get with the Flareon EX is because you can kind of play down the EX as well, and that can also evolve too. Even
Yes.
though it's like a 200 HP 2 prize liability in a way, if it's played from the bench, it can kind of help you work around Dragapult in a couple ways like that.
Which is a big deal because it lets you play around exactly what Dragapult's trying to do. And so on Eli's side, Brian, I know you were just talking to us about the deck. Keep telling us what's he's trying to do and what's his game plan turn
Yeah,
one.
so big thing with this is you're just trying to get a bunch of Dreepies and Duskulls down. I know with the previous version, like turn 1 Lance was like the craziest thing you can get just because you're just setting up a bunch of Dreepies. But being able to put a bunch of the babies onto the bench is really big here, and the Badoo is really good in this matchup as well.
Badoo is so good in this matchup,
Yeah.
especially because you don't play something like Arven to just go get the crystal, even though you do have Noctowl.
Yeah, and it's really helpful that Eli already has like Dracloak in hand as well, just because as soon as he starts the turns start going by, he's going to be able to start slowly evolving in towards the Dragapult, and that's where the real damage is going to really start.
That makes sense. And Breaker, that
Yeah.
is awesome. I'm glad you're getting into the game, even if it's just a month ago. So you're
Yeah.
going to be well prepared to jump in, and hopefully you can make it up here to play with us because it'd
Yeah.
be great to have you.
Yeah, everyone was new at one point, so it's kind of exciting to have more new players coming in with this new like second hype wave that we've had in the
Yes.
TCG since COVID.
I agree. It is
Yeah.
awesome. Like we have what 3,000 plus people registered for Atlanta.
Yeah, it was crazy too. We had like close to 5,000 people total for EUIC this year, which was really crazy to see as well.
That is incredible.
Yeah.
I love it. All right, and so now we go back to Ryan's turn. We are going to see that Noctowl come down probably. Ultra Ball, not the most helpful.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, we can't use Terra Ball or something to get out the Flareon. So
Yeah.
we're going to have to be a little tricky here to see what we can do. But the other option is we could just sob this Badoo.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, so then we will see the Artisan used. I kind of imagine Ryan's going to try to get out another Eevee. Oh, another Hoot
Ooh.
Hoot here. So why do you think that is?
Probably just to start taking advantage of the Noctowl engine because I mean there is that Wellspring Mask Ogerpon in the active as well. As soon as the Noctowl goes down, he could honestly start using Torrential Pump soon.
Well, honestly, we could also just Crispin here.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. It's just
Yeah.
a Crispin, Torrential Pump, take out a Dreepy and the Badoo, and you're kind of just chilling for a little bit.
That makes a ton of sense, especially take out the Dreepy with the board attached, just to make
Yeah.
it much harder for Eli to respond and try to Badoo you again.
Yeah.
All right, so we do see. Am I getting yelled at?
No.
Okay,
Yeah, Kev just walked in.
fair enough. So we do see him going for the Crispin. I think Ryan's debating the Crystal or the Stadium.
Yeah, I think the Stadium's fine because with the Crispin, it's going to get him enough for the attack.
Yes, I agree. And
Yeah.
also, Ryan doesn't need the Artisan anymore, so better to make sure Eli can't utilize it at this point.
Yes.
All right, we do see Crispin for Psychic Water. Not a lot else we can play from that hand, but we will shuffle those all back in and take 2 prizes going into Eli's second turn, and
Yep, doubled your cloak.
pretty good.
Yeah, definitely.
However, those are also highly murderable.
Yes, most definitely.
And so that's going to be the question for Eli is he's going to have to disrupt and hope to disrupt Ryan out of and out to use that torrential pump again. But all Ryan needs is a Noctowl.
Yes. And I think he has the stamp in hand. Or no.
He has Stamp in
Yeah, in deck.
but he hasn't gone out to get that yet. Okay, so Breaker, that is extremely reasonable. It should be a bit far away, but dude, thank you for coming and joining the stream. It is awesome to have you. And please,
Yeah, it's always great when we have people from out of state Illinois. They just stumble upon our stream and they end up becoming like weekly listeners. So always good to see.
it's wonderful. Also, I always forget to do this, but Breaker, you reminded me. Y'all, please follow. Like, follow the stream, like it
Yeah.
on YouTube, subscribe on YouTube. If you feel super aggressive, you're welcome to subscribe here as well. Like, just share, try to get people to come up and watch because,
Yeah.
dude, we're trying to build something good here, and I love doing the stream.
Yeah, I know. It's super fun. It's like one of the only things I look forward to for my Thursday nights,
That's, yes.
Yeah, I don't get too much time off these days, but, being able to be with the buddies here on every Thursday night is a good time.
It is. And
Yeah.
also, the more of you watch, the more I'm able to convince Norm to still have us do the stream and have
Yes.
Bryce here helping us out. So thank you, Bryce.
Yes.
Awesome to have you here. All right, so getting back to the game. So Eli, honestly, setting up a really nice board for turn 2. We've got 2 Cloaks, we've got another Dreepy, a Duskull, we have the Pheasantipity. The only problem is they're all going to die.
Yes.
And I mean, Brian, what does Eli do to stop Ryan from just going Crispin Crystal?
It's tough to see. I think he needs like a gust or something like that. The counter catcher definitely helps with that. Being able to like catcher Noctowl just because it'll make him need like a little bit extra. I hope the stamp gets pulled here. Stamp would be really good here too.
Stamp definitely seems like the move here.
Yeah.
And I agree with the counter catcher and then
Yeah.
Stamp.
Yes.
All right, so then we see the Stamp, see the counter catcher. For Eli's board, is there anything else you want to see him set up?
I mean, if you're able to get more, get like another Dreepy back onto the board, that would be ideal, or another Duskull, because those tend to be like sniped out first.
That is
Yeah.
very reasonable. So we do see the counter catcher, and then we see
Yep,
the Evo
attach the
TM.
Evo, so we don't draw back into it. Wait, he played Arvin, didn't he?
He did.
Ah.
Oh,
okay,
no.
good. All right.
Okay,
Alright,
Stamp.
alright,
All right, whew,
cool.
whew. Okay, we're good. Thank you.
Alright.
Bryce was on it. Bryce is
Yeah.
about to leap into action
Yeah.
here, so we're good. All right, so then this Stamp is really powerful because it does put Ryan down to only 2 cards in hand, which severely limits his outs to get the next play he needs. Is there a way for Ryan to still torrential pump this turn?
I think it kind of depends on the 2 cards that he gets. I feel like if he draws into like double Noctowl, then he gets it, but it's like it's one of those things where it kind of depends on what we get, what we're drawn into.
That's fair. The
Yeah.
one thing I would say, honestly, is just an attack with Flareon probably isn't terrible this turn either.
Yeah, definitely.
Because being able to accelerate from the deck to put stuff onto that, what is the water one again?
Wellspring.
Wellspring, for the love of
Yes.
yes, Wellspring Ogerpon, just to set up another torrential attack because taking 1 prize still works with that Duskull on the board because then Eli would use that Duskull, put Ryan back on 2 prizes, and selling that Pheasantipity is the win condition for him. But that's all dependent on what these 2 cards are.
Yes, and we still don't know what they are.
All right, so now
Okay,
Ryan
let's
gets
see
3
here.
cards. Let's see what they are.
Okay,
That's
there's a
pretty
flare.
good.
That's pretty good. Is one of those a Noctowl?
Nope, that is a
Oh, boy.
pass on over to Eli. So we did get protection for the Eevee, which is great.
Ooh, did he not recon first?
He did
Yeah,
not.
there we go.
Okay.
Good. Good, good, good.
Good
Ooh, the
sequencing,
Yak
good sequencing.
here.
All right, so is the Yak the right call there? Do you just want to thin all that out of your deck?
Yeah, I feel like it's fine here because you kind of just want to play the deck slow anyways. You want to be able to have like as many tools as possible. It's not really necessary for you to attack right now. And if anything, like if after all of these dragon, these recon directives, if he just wants a dragon headbutt, that's honestly like not a bad idea because like you can still spread 3 damage counters to get an extra knockout.
And I do think the Dragon Headbutt is going to be the attack here since there was
Yeah.
no energy on that dragon last turn.
Yeah.
But, like you said, that's not too bad, especially if Noctowl stays stuck in the active.
Yeah, definitely.
And we do have the boss for next turn,
Yeah,
which
boss
is
is huge because, I mean, he'll be able to take the knockout on the Wellspring Ogerpon as well, which is huge.
So the only thing that could have been a question is if Eli wanted to attack with Phantom Dive this turn. And do you think there's any chance he did want to?
Oh, yeah, I feel like if you have the opportunity to, you definitely do. But, yeah, I just don't think he had, like, every piece he needed for it.
Well, so, and that's the only question is, with the Dragapult in hand, he could have used both Recon Directives to dig for Crispin. And
Yeah.
then at that point, Jacques as a follow-up. And
Yeah.
Ryan is very excited about that hand. We have a boss.
Ooh, we got a boss and energy.
I don't know if that helps us.
Yeah. And then the rescue board.
Rescue board is very good.
Yeah, the rescue board is good.
And we have Ryan's favorite play of the day, apparently,
The saw block.
the saw block. Now, granted, I think Eli has a switch in hand,
Yes.
which is problematic. And we top decked into the psychic energy,
Wow.
which is problematic.
Did all the work without the boss.
Exactly. And Ryan has unfortunately just emptied his hand. So unless we top deck Pheasantipity, we are not doing a lot
Yeah.
here. So then for Eli, is it just as simple as knockout, Noctowl, Wellspring?
You can also use the Dusk Noir to take out one of those Hoot Hoots too.
That is true.
Yeah, that could be a good play to kind of limit the some of the other utility that can set up Ryan's board. Because right now that Flareon doesn't really have much going for it.
So, and that's actually exactly why I'd be hesitant to use the Dust Noir here, is because you can eliminate one of the pieces from Ryan's board,
Yeah,
but you'd be giving him a prize. And
That's
if
true.
you have him so effectively locked out right now, I don't know what advantage you'd want to gain from giving him a prize if you don't have to.
that's true. And I also see a lot of utility too in just like attacking tall with the Dusk Noir, being able to like Dusk Noir like active Flareon and being able to knock it out just straight up.
Exactly.
Is also like a really useful thing. And it's one of those reasons too why Dragapult has such good matchups into stuff like Gardevoir and Charizard because like with Dusknoir you're able to take those one shots so easily.
Agreed. And that is a huge, huge deal to be able to reach in that way. And so we see the 60 damage come down. I think Eli's still deciding.
Yeah.
To be honest with you, Brian, I almost would have just liked to see the Noctowl knocked out.
Yeah, part of me would like to also, but I also kind of like Eli keeping it on the board because it's just sitting there. It's kind of just taking up space. The only way that it kind of gets taken out of place or out of play is if the Area 0 kind of goes in, gets taken out, and then you can kind of knock it out from there.
So I
Yeah.
do agree with that. The only thing I'm thinking is if you take out the Noctowl, Ryan has to advance something,
Yes.
and it gives you an opportunity to start to attack into the bench.
Yeah, definitely.
Now, Ryan putting up that Noctowl, Eli's going to have to spend, well, I guess he has 2 boss in hand.
Yeah.
But he would theoretically have to spend one of those gusts in order to hit around it.
Yeah.
That is true, Ben. You do give Ryan Stretcher as an out, but there may be a knockdown in the discard already. I'm not sure. But it's a good point. And this is exactly my thought, is limiting the outs Ryan has to play the game. So now, though, this, if you're good with it, Brian, this is the turn I would use Dust Noir to
Yeah.
knock out Hoot Hoot, knock out, gust up the other Hoot Hoot, and then take a 3-prize swing.
Ooh.
And then remove all of. Oh wait,
Wait, this is just board wipe.
is this just pure board wipe?
Yeah.
Oh, the Halucha. All right,
Halucha.
there you go.
Wow.
So we have a clean wipe from Drag. And you know
board
what?
wipe.
Honestly, man, it's a pretty good way to end the night on
Yeah.
a clean board wipe for Dragapult.
Yeah, and that's really one of the most impressive things about like high level Dragapult play is that you just see all these crazy lines that they're planning just like turns in advance
Yes.
for these crazy board wipes.
And this is why I will stress the 80 HP Hoot Hoots.
Yes.
That is the move because you just saw it there. That play doesn't happen.
Yeah, definitely.
That extra 10 HP on everything is
Mhm.
hugely consequential.
Yeah.
All right, so Brian, what are your takeaways from the testing today?
Our Chaladon is all right.
That's actually a pretty good summary, if I'm
Yeah,
being
I think it's
honest.
all right. Even though we only had one Raging Bolt game, I think Raging Bolt is like turning out to be like a really, really good deck.
Yes.
Terrabox definitely showed out. Um, what else did we see here? I mean, there's fun decks you can play at locals if you want to play Slow King.
That is
Dragapult,
an option.
Dragapult's solid still. Yeah, it's pretty much like that. That was like some of my biggest takeaways. What did you think?
Honestly, I think my biggest takeaway is that this is not a low complexity rotation. Like
Yeah.
many of the decks we've seen are not simple. There's still a ton of search options and complexity in the game. So, whereas some rotations, things kind of simplify themselves based on the card pool, there are so many search cards and interesting cards in the format right now that it's going to be complicated in Atlanta and
Yeah,
3V.
definitely. And there's definitely a lot of skill expression that I'll be seeing in the format too.
Yes.
There's not going to be any, oh, Chen Pao 6 energy knock out Charizard and then rare candy Charizard and I'll knock out the Chen Pao. There's like
Yes.
none of that. It's
I
going to
don't
be
think
like
there's gonna be a lot of that.
yeah, there's going to be a lot of like really intricate play and I think we're going to see a lot of it when we get like our Atlanta stream and our speed stream and all of that. So, yeah.
Absolutely. And so next week we will have a league challenge, which means current format. But going forward from there, we will have post rotation every night here. And just to follow up, we have our big event for the quarter Sunday, a $1,000 League Cup here. There are 3 spots remaining, so please register if you can.
Yes.
And then it's also a double cup with Sully's Abode on Saturday, where they have $1,000 of store credit prizing. And I should note too, that our $1,000 cash prize is guaranteed.
Yeah, guaranteed.
So, Brian, anything else you want to say to the people before we end tonight?
Yeah, I just hope to see everybody here watching the stream or in the store. We got some fun stuff planned for it. It's great to have everybody watching again. We're really excited to do more post-rotation content moving forward. And yeah, we're always just glad to have everybody coming and hanging out with us.
Agreed. And
Yeah.
thank you all very much for joining, participating. Bryce, thank you for running the show. And
Yes.
then Ryan, Rafal, Eli, Kevin, appreciate these guys participating and playing today. So thank you all very much for
Yeah.
joining. Please like, subscribe, all the content things I keep
Yes.
forgetting to say. And we will see you here next time at Nerd Rage Gaming.